we need to just start with our biggest Charles Clay take. I think there's no other reason why we should be talking about anything else. So please just start off. I'm not doing any introductions. This is where we are. Charles Clay. Who is it?
Tight end
What
11.
is he? Tight end 11.
Tight end 11 this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, Rosen's young, the security blanket thing that we've all proven correct. The new offensive juggernaut coaching staff. Christian Kirk had the injury. We don't know how he's going to come back. Haven't heard much about it. Larry Fitz is finally going to get that age wall. Charles Clay, tight end 11.
Yeah, I mean, is DJ really going to get the targets?
No.
Can we rely on DJ to get those types of targets that Charles Clay will essentially take in? JMic, Peter, I mean, there's hardly a counter for this.
Bro, Charles Clay's trash. Let's
Okay. So you just had to end our fun, our troll job, our first troll job of the OPR.
You did great, Wildy. But no, I will not.
You crushed it out.
I will not be a part of such a tomfoolery, succotassery.
Succotash.
That's crazy. I mean, but on a serious note, like
for those listening in podcast form, JMic just hit the air quotes.
Air quotes.
You got to say quote unquote. Have you ever podcasted? You have to say quote unquote, and you also have to do the action for the viewers.
Quote unquote.
There it is.
Richard Seals Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, he was kind of a thing last offseason. The Arizona Cardinals offense burned in effigy this last season. And are we just quickly burying him? What we thought would be hope springing eternal?
I think it's most fair to just forget last season even happened for the Cardinals. I really don't think there's any takeaway for them last year. It was horrible coaching. I'd like to say that for DJ at least. So sure, I guess Ricky Field gets that pass.
I think he bounced back though, second half of the season a little bit. I was surprised that to see, enough to get him back into that RB1 status. I was kind of surprised to see him there.
Yeah.
I mean, with the season that he was having, it's like, oh my god.
It's just got to be a testament to his ability, though. I mean, there was no reason for him to be successful whatsoever. He could have been RB25 last year, and I wouldn't have been disappointed just watching the games.
So with that in mind, bigger bounce back this season, who would you rather have on your dynasty roster? David Johnson or Darius Guice?
You did it to us.
I was wondering what the over-under on me being asked about Darius Guice today was, but definitely David Johnson. I mean, I haven't seen Darius Guice completely obliterate the entire league, and I have seen David Johnson do that. I mean, David Johnson had a historical year. Does it make me nervous that he only did it once? Well, yeah, but he broke his wrist for a season, and then the other season we can't even count because the coaching staff was so bad. So what if we see 2016 David Johnson again? I mean, it's in the realm of possibility.
Wildy, I'm not sure if you noticed this, but Darius Guice absolutely destroyed his workouts. He ran in a straight line very fast. He looked agile. He had a good sweat. His hips didn't lie, Shakira style.
No.
I think that you're underestimating the greatness of Darius Guice.
I've got like a 86% ownership of Darius Guice in my dynasty league, so I'm not underestimating anything. Look, the haters came at him hard too. He's not ready to move side to side. He's literally not in that phase yet. So everybody's like, yeah, he's running fast, but like ACL tears affect lateral mobility. It's like, yeah, dude, but he's 5 months in. Chill out.
Also, wasn't there reports that he may have like done a little bit more damage to the old knee versus just the ACL?
He got an infection and they had to go in and clean it up. So technically, he had 2 surgeries.
Okay.
So he's way ahead.
Well then, take that, JMic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how about this from Doug Eddy in the chat? What up, Doug? Doug Eddy.
Hey.
He said he heard on another podcast Ricky Seals-Jones was a big time recruit for Cliff Kingsbury. How's that for the Wayback Machine? How's that for nostalgia?
Murray. Maybe we'll get them together.
Ooh.
Eat your heart out.
Are we doing that? Because there was that rumor of that whole thing. Josh Rosen being traded after 1 year. They're done with him, and then Kyler Murray. No way though, right? Like, why?
I mean, not at 1. I mean, crazier things would happen, but not Kyler Murray at 1. I mean, if they felt that strongly about it and they wanted to flip for a profit, like maybe you get a first-round pick return on Josh Rosen. We just named 2 players on the Arizona offense that we were going to give the benefit of the doubt to because it didn't count last year. So why not Rosen? You know, maybe they get a mid-first-round pick for him, and then they trade back to they switch with the Redskins. I don't know. They're back at 15, and then they take Kyler Murray there. Sure, if you have to talk about it, they could do that. I wouldn't be too mad. But no, they're not going to skip Bosa and take Kyler Murray.
I mean, is it possible to make people sweat though? Like, hope in their advantage. What if Kyler Murray has this insane combine and he's obviously like the hottest topic of the NFL draft altogether. And maybe Haskins has a good combine as well. Is there a possibility that those 2 guys are like vying for like the top 2 spots in the NFL draft? Like, I don't think it makes sense whatsoever to me, like talent wise, but I just know how the NFL is with quarterbacks and how desperate they are just to get a guy. And we've seen that kind of happen with the Browns, threatening a little bit to move back, and they've kind of manipulated drafts before. Could the Cardinals do the same type of thing? And then they like not give a shit about Kyler Murray whatsoever, but they're just kind of flexing like they do.
Man, I'm just going to err on the side of Arizona's incompetent.
So you don't think the changeover is going to do anything?
Why should I? What evidence have they given us to make us feel that things are going to be different or better?
Kitchens was a little better.
They have had successful drafts in the past. I mean, they have really actually taken some good players,
but they're not. Well.
Say what?
But they haven't kept those players well. Haven't done a good job keeping them around. Lost Tyrann Mathieu, Calais Campbell, 2 first ones that come off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Peter, enlighten us.
What you want, man? Freddie Kitchens was a little better. DJ got a few more targets when he finally came in as offensive coordinator, wasn't it? But yeah, overall, I'm like, why are we scratching our head over these non-difficult decisions? It's like, yeah, we hope the Cardinals turn it around. There isn't really much to assume they're going to do a drastic amount to do that next year. I hope Josh Rosen can improve. And DJ Moore's a top 5 running back who probably won't have a top 5 season, but you got to keep valuing him there because he is a top 5 running back. And despite the fact we all want the top 20 to be top 5s, there's really only 5 or 6 running backs in the NFL can do it. So, yeah, what do you want?
I think we talked about Le'Veon Bell beforehand and how I don't think that he has a run style that's conducive to any team in the NFL. If there is a running back that could switch offenses and be successful, I think it's a running back like David Johnson. I think he gets downhill a little bit better. So, I mean, but we also have to take into account that Cliff he's a first-time head coach, right? I mean, we're excited because he's young and he is bringing a college mentality, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to do a good job at literally anything else.
Yeah, I think it's definitely been one of those hires that's just a hot topic. trying to get the next wave, basically trying to stay ahead of the game. Whether that is actually ahead of the game, I don't think any of us know until after the fact, and be like, we knew it. The young guys, they're doing the new things, and everybody needs one of these coaches.
We just need
Clingsbury is the next wave.
Just bring us a coach that will do the forward pitch, and that's all we need. Like, bring a jet motion, hand it to him forward, and you're hired. That's all you need to do.
Are you still talking about the Redskins and Darius Geis right now?
No, I wish. I wish we were talking about them the whole time.
Go for it, Peter.
I was just going to say, we spent this long talking about the Cardinals. The most interesting player on the team outside of DJ is Christian Kirk. The rest of the guys are probably investing too much or something that doesn't mean much, really, to get on your team, like Ricky Seals-Jones. Larry Fitzgerald's always worth a third to the guy who thinks old people can't play. But Christian Kirk's the only one. If anything different happens, I mean, like say, you got to keep DJ as a top 5 running back, but Christian Kirk should be the first name mentioned on the Cardinals. So I was just going to throw his name out. He's a really interesting player. He did great for his rookie season in a terrible offense. So, yeah, I really like Christian Kirk.
Do you know more about the injury that I joked about earlier? Any of you?
Even if I did, I'm not going to, I don't know. I really don't. I don't think
know if he underwent
outside the
surgery
doctor who's literally examining him, I don't know.
I think it's kind of one of those things too, where there's such a bad team and it's towards the end of the season. Like, we've seen what you could do, kid. You know, take a seat, ice the old ankle, the big toe. I know that it hurts. Just take a breather.
Yeah, I haven't seen much about it. I was just confirming that we didn't need to be worried about it. I mean, he went on IR, but there was only 2 weeks left. So
yeah. I think we see that quite a bit with teams towards the end of the season where they're kind of out of it and you just see this surprising IR move. And, you know, some of them are kind of legitimate, but most it seemed to be just kind of a way to free space, let another guy come up, see what he can do type of thing at the end of the season.
I've actually been looking into that a little bit. I've started to dig back through years and see if there's any pattern or trend to how often teams run or throw the ball through the season. I'm kind of thinking more about projections, but there does seem to be, like the last 6 weeks, there's simply less offense going on. That seems to be true relatively consistently every year. So that's interesting.
That has to be factored in.
I thought it was interesting. Come on, Gabe.
No, I'm serious. No, I really do. That has to be
I know
factored
in. Hours on the. That's really interesting. Hours long work he's been there. There you go.
And all I say is,
"There's your prize."
Is that right?
Go do it again, little man. Come back with another nugget.
Can't wait what you say next.
We respond to Peter like people respond to kids after they've said something 4 times, and you just don't understand it.
Bro, I've got amazing practice at that at home, so I've got really good at that.
You're not going to ask what a 5th time.
That's nice, Pete. I've got a coloring book over here. Would you like to see that?
Look at my graph, Dad. Look how the numbers go up.
Look at the colors, Peter.
JMic. We're there yet?
I don't want to hear any more about market share. Go sit down somewhere.
God damn it! I had a hard day.
This is
what are you going to tell me next, Peter?
Nothing. That's all I got, Gabe. That's everything. If only we had a mathematician around here, someone who taught math or some weird shit like that. Maybe he'd know, but no.
Not even the mathematician showing you love. That's when you know you've reached a new low. It's like, no, take your numbers and shove it.
How the mathematicians are off you.
You know what? You just take numbers way too seriously.
So yeah, that was a fun nugget. Now back to random college coaches that we have no clue what they're gonna do. Let's speculate some more.
Yeah, can't we just speculate about shit we don't know, Peter? Come on.
I do find this interesting, particularly for and this is looking at DLF, ADP for February. Shout out to those guys pumping out ADP like it's their job.
Like it
mainly because it is.
Yeah.
Josh Rosen is quarterback number 24.
Oh, the disrespect. That's serviceable QB2 status.
Yeah.
Listen to this. Yes.
Well,
Shout out
QB1
Bobby
for me.
Koch. Bobby Koch.
Serviceable QB2 is possibly one of my favorite quotes of all time. You can keep going, JMic, but I need to let Bobby know that and the world.
Bobby Koch, he's the man. His tasting Girl Scout cookies is trash, but he's the man. I appreciate him very much.
In the freezer and the conversation's over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it. Well, when Chris gets in here, we can do our top 5 on that one.
There it is. There it is.
I mean, I think I gave away my answer, but for those who jump in later, they can tune into the top 5.
Well, this is going to be really interesting because right now, if you look at the YouTube video, Peter Howard's going to have the 101. I'm going to have the 102. You'll have the 103.
What YouTube video?
You know the YouTube video. And Wildy's going to have the 104. So I'm curious whenever our fifth wheel pops in where he's going to place himself, or obviously he can't choose it, but that's going to be fun. Anyway, back to DLF's ADP for just a moment. Josh Rosen's QB 24, right behind him, Phillip Rivers. Who would you rather have?
Rivers.
Wow. I'm surprised Rivers is there.
25, man. Shoo.
I mean, people have been expecting him to retire for like 4 years. I mean, he's the Larry Fitzgerald of quarterbacks. I take him every year, like every startup. He's just locked on my team. I barely missed him this year, but that's because I took literally no quarterbacks in the super flex that I'm in with JMic.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. Who cares? I mean, you start Phillip Rivers, you got a good quarterback, but the minute you get past like there's no difference maker in this position. Why are we stressing over it? Just take the old guys, and if they retire on the field, you just get to enjoy the Twitter tilt. Just like, damn it. Yeah. I don't know why. I've been going through DLF ADP for so long, and quarterbacks are always weird, especially in Dynasty. It's like, well, he might retire in a year or two. It's like, why do you care? You'll just take the next Josh Rosen. It doesn't matter. Right? Unless you're playing in a 2-quarterback league, and screw it. Yeah, just take Rivers.
Yeah, so that's one of the best strategies that I've heard since starting Dynasty is there's always value in the older QBs. Now we're talking 1 QB, which none of us play anymore, but there's always value in the older QBs, and always draft a young QB. And oftentimes you get maybe 5 viable options and one of them hits, but it's a crapshoot. So, I mean, last year we got 5 viable options, but usually there's 5 viable options in the real NFL draft and only one of them becomes fantasy productive. So say you took Phillip Rivers 3 years ago, that dude's been putting up QB1 numbers for you for 3 years. That means that you had 3 years to take shots at quarterback in the mid to late second, and eventually one of them was going to hit. Like eventually you got Lamar or something. So that's my favorite strategy. I mean, if I'm playing in a 1 QB, take all the old guys and then I'll draft young guys as they become convenient.
Yeah, I don't think that Phillip Rivers has necessarily this upside of being realistically a top 5 QB anymore. I mean, the talent is certainly there for that to happen. I think this coming year is going to be possibly his best receiver core in a very long time, with Allen kind of, obviously leading the pack and being one of the best receivers in the game. Mike Williams is coming on as the red zone dude. Hunter Henry will be back, and Melvin Gordon doing his thing, Eckler doing his thing. Like, it is really, really stacked, and he's still always going to put up some sort of top 10 to 15 year, but maybe I'm just adding to the fact, Peter, that why not? You're still going to have the dude for 2 to 3 years or whatever, how many years, like, it doesn't really matter. Like, you're not going to have this huge ceiling necessarily, but it's going to be fine.
Like, it matters so little. I'm almost like, if he doesn't do well for 2 games, drop him in Dynasty. Just see what's on the waiver wire. Why not? No matter.
Yeah.
Having said that, do you think
you should be doing that? If it's a top 10 of 15 guy, like why would you rely on that type of production every week? Because that's not even like realistically that great as a top 10 to 15 QB. I mean, there should be guys that you should be streaming for 2 or 3 weeks. If Josh Allen is hot at the end of the season, like you pick up that trash and throw it in.
For sure.
Anyone buying into the idea that new offensive innovations and the Patrick Mahomes era is going to change that a little bit? Like, Patrick Mahomes actually made a difference, like for the first time in a long time. Having that quarterback actually made a difference to even single quarterback rosters. Anyone think that's a thing now, that's going to change as the offense starts getting more friendly for fantasy or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, there are a few seasons that have had like top like 50 plus QB or 50 plus TDs. Like, there's not many seasons where that happens. Just like it
50
happened.
and 5,000. 50 and 5,000.
Yeah.
Like, what the? Come on. Like,
yeah,
it happened, and it might and probably will happen again for Mahomes, but it's not going to happen every year, and it's not going to happen for other QBs. It just doesn't.
And I prefer the Rams offense, and I wouldn't put Goff in any sort of category to say that, like, yeah, he made a difference. Like, so he's just Mahomes is just special. I mean, he's his own case, in my opinion.
I'm just saying, if we start a buy Patrick Mahomes movement, we can like have Jake tilting from 3 states over. Like, he won't even know why. He'll just be in his living room, just like, what the hell's going on? Just spinning around, flipping out. It'll be great. I think that's his
favorite sell high, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Okay, ready for this? Welcome in to the open bar. It is 9:30 Eastern-ish, very heavy-ish on this one. We've already talked about the Cardinals situation from A to Z. And that was you see that? God, I got him with it, JMic. Thank you.
My man's in mid-season form right
now. No one can tell, but JMic literally just died on the show. He's dead now. That was the end of JMic.
No, JMic loves it when I drop a bar.
The rest of the show is in JMic's honor.
Oh, yeah,
R.I.P.
Yeah, that was good.
I'm speaking from the other side. It's beautiful here.
So we covered the Cardinals. We covered a few other things. Peter's shit stats about the last 6 weeks of the season. I don't know what the hell he said. But the point is we've been just bullshitting for the last like literally 20 to 30 minutes waiting for our 5th guest to come in. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in, introduce our guest because we haven't yet, and I think that'd be really funny to do at this point in the show. So I'll welcome in our first one that I'll go from most time spent in the open bar thus far to least. Is that okay?
That was so convoluted.
I don't know. Does anyone know the order of who showed up first and last?
Nope.
I think Wildy was first.
Wildy, my man. Adam, the Charles Clay truther. How you doing tonight, man?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks, Gabe.
You're gonna have to tout that now. You can't. I'm gonna edit that clip. I'm gonna put it on Twitter after this episode.
I was all off the dome, and I had myself convinced by the end of it that he's fighting.
I think you've hit peak Twitter. You just kind of talk for a while, and then you're like, "Yeah, that does sound good."
Wildy, the best part of this is in Trade Addict 6. Shout out to Dynasty Outhouse and Brian Haar from the Trade Addicts podcast. You are on the clock. And you never guess who's still available in Trade Addict 6.
I looked at him and then took Latavius Murray. It was right after the signing. Of course I don't.
Oh, look at you.
Of course I don't.
Better have had a pre-draft list.
That better have been.
I didn't. I can make it right on air early.
Wildy, you're on the clock right now.
I don't know, man. I don't know what to do.
We'll get to that pick later. You think about that. We'll introduce the other guest. The other
take your tight end 11.
Oh God, you're
Take your tight end 11.
just take
do it.
Ricky Seals-Jones just to flex a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I think he's available too.
I'm sure he is.
He
All
This is
right.
around 20, by the way.
already went.
20th round.
Oh, is it round? Okay, well, maybe. Your co-host Adam, Chris, welcome to the open bar. Thank you for joining us. We really did. We didn't know when to do this, when to start, when to end. So thanks for popping in, man.
No, my apologies again for being late, but of course, God is good. I appreciate you guys for letting me jump in this evening. I was listening in on the way home. Adam, of course, your takes are trash.
Yeah.
But no, I'm happy to be here, so I'm ready to get into it, fellas.
Good. I knew you'd be ready. I knew you'd be ready to shit talk Adam. If you'd like to
I have a
slight
question.
Peter a little bit, just once, and then we'll segue to him.
Okay.
We can get going. Anything to say? Naughty to Peter? Just a little.
No,
naughty?
not yet. I'll give it.
Naughty?
I'm always on the defensive with Peter,
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I'll give it some time.
I just try to avoid Peter as much as possible if I can.
This is explaining a lot about my life right now.
And with that, let's
Everyone's
segue
like,
to
no.
Peter.
No. I'm good.
Let's
No
put
one
all
really
the
needs it.
attention on Peter at this point, and
Yes.
everyone focus in on what he has to
Yes.
say. Peter, my man, how are you tonight?
Hey.
Hey.
Hey guys,
Um,
how's it going? Happy to be here again, filling in for Jake, who I believe ran away to Mexico. Last I heard.
Uh-oh.
really?
Yeah.
Is he going to be back? In
I have no
time
idea where he is. He
for-
told me. I didn't pay much attention, but he's definitely somewhere other than where he normally is. That's what I gleaned from my half listening to what he said.
Never full listen to the NFL Draft Talker.
No.
The artist formerly known as the NFL Draft Talker.
Preach. We gotta get him a handle involving teats. JMic, dude. Yeah, I brought it back already. JMic, what's up, man? We're live. We're here on the open bar. I missed you. It's Tuesday. It's 9:30 Eastern. We're still in February. We've got a home brewer on the show. How you doing, bro?
This is the Tuesday night of all Tuesday nights. Been looking forward to this Tuesday night for quite a while now. What I find most interesting right now is that I don't know how something came to be, and I need something cleared up.
Mm-hmm.
Chris,
Yes, sir.
I've known you on Twitter probably the last year.
Oh
maybe
no!
a little
Don't tell
more.
me he changed his name.
No, it's the entire time. The one of the few things that I've been meaning to ask you, and I definitely meant to ask you during the Cincinnati meetup when we were actually face to face.
Okay.
And you bought me a beer and everything, and we kicked it.
Absolutely.
I don't know what the FFWX stands for, and it's bothered me for over 365 days now.
Nice.
I need to know.
So the FFWX, the WX portion is for weather. That has been my niche, the thing that, while doesn't really affect or isn't a huge part of fantasy football in general when it comes to making predictions and whatnot, it's just something that I study. So that's really been my thing for, I think, since I started writing. Actually, my very first article for FF Couch Coach, the now defunct site run by Justin Barlow, that was my very first article, and something that I kind of grew from there. And then part of what I started doing for 4for4 was looking at how weather impacts the game. So that's been my niche, kind of my thing. So whenever people start talking about wind, snow, rain, and people start to tilt over the games and whatnot, that's normally when my ears perk up. So that's been FFWX, fantasy football weather. That's been me.
What about the X?
Well, WX, I guess, is the abbreviation for weather. So if you look at the guy for Roto Grinders, Kevin Roth, I think his handle is Kevin Roth WX or something like that. So I just kind of took the same moniker, the same abbreviation, and tacked it onto my name.
There he is. Yep, Kevin Roth WX.
Yeah.
Are you a follower or leader here?
I'm definitely a follower. I'm not a meteorologist or anything like that. I look at more things from an analytical standpoint.
Okay.
Numbers heavy.
How do you feel? How do you feel, JMic? Do you feel
Damn geeks.
satisfied that it was? Did you want more than Chris Allen fantasy football weather, or are you satisfied with that?
I feel liberated.
Now you know. The more you know.
I like it.
Yeah,
I honestly like it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, and I've wanted to know that too. Thanks.
I try and keep it simple.
In Remember the Titans, when the entire time Petey is trying to get Sunshine to tell him like whether or not he's in the guys or not, and at this one point, like there's a breaking point, and he says, "Stop playing with my mind. You know what I need to know." And like, he starts to tilt. We were getting pretty close to a tilt moment.
Yeah.
If I didn't learn soon, because I've been meaning to ask him for so long, and it's about so no, I'm free now to live the life that I've been called to live. So this is good.
The knowledge I provide. That's all I do is drop knowledge.
Chris, please don't ever make JMic do that.
No, I will not. That's not something that I'm capable of doing. But here, I'm just here to provide knowledge, fellas.
Did you see how real that was? JMic. That was good, man. We were talking about who was talking about impressions last week. The
Hurley.
best impression of JMic is probably JMic, but that was pretty good right there as far as Remember the Titans goes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're here. Should we keep talking about the? I can't start any word without a T. Apparently, it's on my mind. The last week's show just really got me. Should we keep talking about the Cardinals, or should we move on to something less interesting?
God, can we please move on?
It sounded like Peter was dying. I'm in the car on my way back, and it sounded like Peter was dying during the conversation about the Cardinals.
Yeah,
I actually did. I died. It's just me and JMic talking from the grave at this point. We're just both
you guys are in like the upside down or something like that, hearing us talking about the Cardinals.
It's so
There's
cold.
just nothing. Like, we didn't know what the Cardinals would be last year, right? Because everyone was new, and now everyone who's not new was crap, and everyone else is new, so we still don't know who they are. So, I mean, the needle is yet to move, is what I'd say. And
Yeah.
it's just there's the least amount of analysis there to do. It's like, we don't know. We got no idea. No idea.
I like the upside down metaphor. Could we keep going with that possibly? Is there another? It sounds like Peter wants to talk about shitty teams, so maybe we should things that don't matter per se.
Could we
we talk about other teams, or even possibly a player that is in the upside down right now? If you're unfamiliar with the reference, that's a Stranger Things reference. Homeboy gets stuck in the upside down. He's very unsafe. He has to, go through the ABC lights to communicate with his mother. What's his name? It's Mike. It's been that long?
Yeah,
I feel like
they should have just released it in October so we could all be comfortable again, but they're not doing it until July, and I'm just upset.
Yeah, it ruins the whole atmosphere.
Yeah.
But whatever.
No, it does. It's supposed to be Halloween-esque, and it's not anymore.
Yeah.
You know what? This is great. I love that concept, Gabe, the upside down. And we got a wonderful suggestion from someone in the chat. Speaking of the chat, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube live. The chat lit all the way up as soon as we opened up the bar. What up, Trader Joe? What up, Aaron? It's so good, and I'm so glad that you're finally acknowledging its existence and the pure beauty that basically you need to behold. And everyone needs to behold at this point. Larry Monkey, what's up, Larry? Doug Eddie, we already shouted out. Jake Anderson popped in. What's up, Jake? And scrolling down, Josh Valentin, what's going on? He asked a wonderful question. Well, he's playing into the upside down, and I'm coming right back to that. Levi Andrew, what's going on, brother? And then the dummies just popped in. What's up, fellows? But Valentin wanted to talk about one of the possible Le'Veon Bell landing spots when you just talked about the upside down. And we're going to go coast to coast here because he was thinking West Coast. I was thinking East Coast. And I'd like to talk about both these teams because we don't hardly ever talk about them, Gabe. And I know how annoyed you get when we don't vary up the topics very much. So we're going to stay away from Cleveland, out of the middle of the country, because we always talk Cleveland.
I'd really like
to
talk more about Damian Williams, actually.
Son of a... the Oakland
I have a new thought.
I've been enlightened. The Oakland soon to be Las Vegas Raiders. There is legitimately
San Francisco Raiders.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's
for
right.
the year. But yeah.
There is no value to be had in Las Vegas right now. Can you guys literally think of one person that you'd like to have in fantasy on your teams from that team?
Oh.
Man,
maybe Jalen Richard, maybe.
Oh yeah, we talked a little bit about Jalen. I guess he has,
and he's dirt cheap too. I mean,
yeah, that's about the only piece off that squad that I can really think would be worthwhile to hold in Dynasty at this point.
He might be a fun little like Duke Johnson type this year. Just when if you anticipate them playing from behind and be able to catch a lot of I know Lynch is still hanging around, but
he's a free agent. Who knows?
He's a free agent, yeah.
He's a free
agent.
So
he might. Okay, yeah. I guess it has been. Because he wanted to be there while they were still in Oakland.
Right. I don't think he's going to care to play anymore. I mean, he was pretty happy with his year out of the league. He just came back for his city.
Yep.
That's my dude.
I find it wildly depressing how excited we were about, and I don't know if we were all excited about it, but Derek Carr showed well a couple of years ago, and it's a team that went to the playoffs, got double-digit wins. Crabtree was amazing. Cooper was balling. The offense looked exciting, and we fast forward. Derek Carr is still available in most double-digit, like way late rounds of Superflex drafts. No Oakland players been taken. It's legitimately a wasteland. We watched Jared Cook be relevant last year. We watched Doug Martin to a small degree be relevant in pieces. And we watched Jalen Richard catch 1 billion and 1 balls, but there's no value in Oakland right now. So in terms of landing spots, where are some guys either in the draft or in free agency that you'd like to see be paired up with Gruden and the like there? And this is for all of us. And Peter, I know that you'll probably scoff at the question. It's probably something dumb and way below your pay grade. Just give me what you've got, please. The people in the chat, if for nothing else, would love to hear you spit some wisdom right now.
I have never scoffed at anything you've ever said, JMic. I resent that. I know it kind of sounds like whose career would you like to see end? I like players. I would like none of them to go there. I know. I guess the question is Gruden a shrewd, intelligent man building and just trolling everyone else, pretending he's not trying to build, or is he just this bad? Like, I guess that's actually the question, because if he's selling all his players for picks and just trying to rejuvenate the roster in the long term, well, that's not the best plan in the world, but at least it's a plan. And if he's not, then seriously, it's like a career ender. Like, I love the Raiders. Like a lot of players on there, they traded their best ones away for not a great amount, frankly, and that's just not promising. I mean, even a great player needs something of a team around him, and the team seems to be hemorrhaging anyone with a modest amount of talent. And until I get some sense that Gruden's actually doing something smarter than just hemorrhaging talent, then I don't know I can bet, and I definitely don't want anyone to go there. That would be my answer. Sorry, was that too? Am I wet blanketing the open bar again?
Yes.
It's going to be any player. I don't think it's going to be any player.
I got it.
Anyways.
I got the Gabe hum.
So if Jay Gruden is, if John Gruden's the one, and Jay Gruden would do the same thing, but I don't think they're going to be players relevant to us anyways. So he built a. I think he really is just hesitant to come to the future because he had success in the past. And he probably was watching NFL football from the booth, and he probably saw a lot of things that he didn't like. And he probably thought, man, if we just came back to smash mouth football, we would dominate the league. The league is so soft right now. And he comes and he's like, whoa, these guys are fast. And so I think he gathered all these picks. He's probably going to waste them. I mean, he'll just get all the left tackles He'll draft 3 left tackles in the first round.
Oh wait, Adam just solved it to me. DK Metcalf to the Raiders. Let's go. Let's have this.
Oh man,
Just have like that would be the best thing.
Jake somewhere cussing you right now.
I was gonna say Harry, if I had to say someone, like Harry is so aggressive at the catch point. It's just like, since Derek Carr's a horrible service.
No, don't do
Don't
do
put
that
that out there.
Don't do that to my boy.
Don't do.
We're on the Raiders side right now. I don't want to do that to Harry. I love Harry, but if I'm the Raiders, I need a really aggressive wide receiver. Doesn't really need a lot of separation. He just needs Derek Carr to throw him really bad passes that he can make spectacular catches. That's the good Harry.
I have it on good authority that Hakeem Butler is huge. So let's have him draft Hakeem Butler. He can go and wrestle balls out. I'm sure it'll be great. And let Harry go to a good team. Okay, Gruden watches this, Adam. Why would you do this? Why would you put this thought in his head?
Well, it's too late. It's already out there.
The only type of kind of plus I could, I don't know, situation that could be a plus from this is if Derek Carr is kind of like Andy Dalton, which is really probably the best that he can be.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think I think you're right there. I think he's good. I think he's fine. He's
sure he can do enough. He can be a serviceable NFL quarterback.
Hey.
Get to the playoffs and lose in the first round, whatever. But there's no beyond that. But what I mean is, as far as a receiver goes, this is a great class, and maybe we have some players that can we don't know yet, I guess, but can somehow comp to AJ Green. AJ Green was and still is great with Andy Dalton as his QB. And do we trust Andy Dalton at all? No. Do we trust Derek Carr at all? No. But we can certainly, believe the player. So yeah, it's a stretch, but if some sort of situation kind of bleeds into the NFL draft where unfortunately one of those guys that we like goes to the Raiders, I think the best we can hope for is like an AJ Green situation, because otherwise,
listen,
because we don't want a Corey Davis situation, is what I'm saying.
One of them, someone's going to go there. Oakland is picking at 4 overall, 24, and 27. Thanks to their Chicago Bears and Dallas Cowboys trades of Amari Cooper.
That's great. They can draft them all. They can take DK Metcalf, Hakeem Butler, Ryle Ridley, and just tear up the league. Let's put that thought out there. Let's just take
go gadget catch radius.
Well, that'll boost Derek Carr's value right away if they do that.
See, Derek Carr's good. You can run an offense around Derek Carr. I think he's serviceable. If everyone doesn't remember, and they should, because it's Bobby Koch. I mean, who doesn't know Bobby Koch's terms? But serviceable means a little better than good, right? It's like, say, Andy Dalton. He can take you to the playoffs. So Derek Carr isn't the problem. So let's load the Raiders up with all the wide receivers we don't really care about.
I also think they had a really good offensive line the year that Derek Carr kind of flourished. And when I say flourished, like it was by no means some elite season. Like, I mean, homie barely pushed 30 touchdowns and 4,000 yards. So, I mean, it wasn't great, but I think that that's when you saw his spike. But that offensive line was very, very good. And I think that certainly goes unnoticed. And then when you look at the past few years when he's been bad, like just, add it up here. Math, right, Peter?
Yeah, math. You geek and your numbers evaluations. I would say that like Frisco Josh and actually smarter people, unlike me pretending to be a smart person, they say you get the best idea of what a quarterback is with what he does with a clean pocket. And so that's not like a detriment to me. If with a clean pocket, Carr can be good, then that's what Carr is. If that makes sense. Math.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw math out now and again.
Math.
I don't know that John Gruden is better than Marvin Lewis. So if you want to stick with that comparison, I think it's comparable Marvin Lewis to John Gruden.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, just stuck in their ways and not willing to adapt and change things, and they're okay with serviceable. I mean, yeah, completely true.
Let's please get away from Oakland. This is really disappointing.
We're getting out of the upside down.
tragedy.
Should we go to the next upside down? Who
Yeah,
else?
we're going to stay in the upside down, but we're going to go the other coast.
What
Oh,
else-
please, can we
what else
talk
can
about
we be
Buffalo
negative
for 10
about?
minutes? That'd be fantastic.
Yep.
I'm
Buffalo,
going to give you every reason to be
Jets.
upset.
Talk about the Redskins quarterback.
You're exactly right. That's where we're going, Chris. So before we do, so these are, according to ffstatistics.com, these are the finishes for John Gruden's basically positions for 2018. So his QB1, so Derek Carr, finishes 18th among quarterbacks. His RB1 finished 29th. His wide receiver one finished 40th. And then, little known guy named Jared Cook, who finishes 5th. So apparently Jared Cook's the GOAT, and he just makes John Gruden look amazing.
Yes.
Moving on. New York Jets, another possible Le'Veon Bell landing spot. I think they've at least got some hope with Sam Darnold in tow. They've got Robbie Anderson, who a lot of people seem to like and has fallen out of favor. They've got Quincy Enunwa, who was relevant when Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall were doing their swan song in New York. Elijah McGuire, another guy who people have somewhat touted and even had a big, I think it was week 15 or 16 last year for you. What do we make of New York? Is this a group that excites you at all with Sam Darnold at the helm and now the coach being Crazy Eyes Gaze?
Crazy eyes. Anderson's restricted free agent, right?
I will double check. Hello,
That's
Coach
right.
Ray.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I think he's and probably gone. I mean, somebody's going to pay him to come in and more than the Jets, because the Jets are familiar with his antics. So that kind of is a little depressing because he finally caught on with old Darnold there at the end, and we saw how productive he could be with McCown. So that's a bit of a bummer. That takes a little hit to me. I was excited to see them connect, but
He's restricted. He's restricted free agent though.
restricted, right?
Okay.
I think that they have a ton of cap space, so I think anything that we're going to talk about right now is going to be completely irrelevant after free agency.
The Jets are actually a bad team that might actually be more interesting. One, because all their values are lower than just low, if you know what I mean. Like Washington players are still mostly holding their value, like you have to pay what they are.
Right.
But the Jets players seem to have dropped off. And that's just fantasy. But NFL-wise, Darnold wasn't bad. And like Adam was just saying, he got better. I mean, then drafting or finding a good wide receiver, things could get real interesting. Is Austin Ferrin Jenkins, is he out the league now or is he coming back again? Because he was good when he was on the field.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he's still in the league. He just
Yeah, he was released by the Jaguars.
No, he ended up on the Jets, didn't he?
Well, he was on the
Not
Jets
this last
and
year.
then he was
No,
on
he
the
was back.
Jaguars, and then he went on IR and then released.
Yeah.
Oh.
I like ASJ more than I like Charles Clay, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, but I think
Last.
give him a good.
Oh,
give him a good
whatever.
tight end
No,
and they'll be
no
laughing.
backtracking allowed. Okay, come on, own it.
What'd you say, Chris?
No, I think that's one of the things that I think that that team is missing is a fairly solid tight end, and I think that overall, even if Le'Veon Bell doesn't land there, Elijah McGuire has proven to be, pretty serviceable running back. I mean, if we're all working along the premise of, well, not necessarily to say that running backs don't matter, but let's say they're devalued in the current state of the NFL. But I think that Elijah McGuire at least serves as a decent player and a decent running back for that system until they can, probably land on somebody a little bit better farther on down the line. But with their wide receiver core, it's not bad.
It's not bad, but it could use a dominant one. Sorry, Chris.
Yes. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And I think that's really, I don't think there needs to be significant investments made, unlike the previous team that shall not be mentioned, in order to really put them, in order to really make them have a leap forward. Because I think where Darnold's at right now, and this is without even thinking too much, I think most people would prefer Darnold to what he is right now than Josh Rosen. I don't think that's much of a stretch to say.
No, not at all.
So I think that the Jets as a whole, like while most people think of them as a poor offensive team, there were a lot of bright spots last year, like for them. So as long as if they can hang on to Anderson, get another dominant wide receiver, boost to the tight end position, I think that's a team that you can find a lot of good value in, if not just in 2019, then in the years down the line.
I think
Herndon was a little, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, Herndon was
what I was
good.
about to say.
Yeah, Herndon was good. He suspended though, what, 4 games?
Well, who isn't really at this point?
Well, yeah, everybody's suspended him.
I think he's one of their more exciting pieces to build around, especially since he didn't cost them very much. If they held Anderson, I'd be in a little bit more. I love Anunwa, but if he can't stay on the field, what good is he? I mean, he was excellent while he was on the field. And then I don't know about Jermaine Kearse's contract, but he's always undervalued, and he's not good in fantasy, but he's valuable to a football team for sure. I've always been a fan of his. So I don't think the offense is going to be that terrible. I just think that they're all replacement level talents besides Herndon, because he was so cheap and produced in his rookie season. So where I like McGuire, I like him a lot. I think he's an above average player for the style of play that he brings to the running back position. I think that when you see that much money and you have a flashy position like running back, they're going to do something stupid like go get Le'Veon Bell. I'd be way happier if they went and paid for Latavius Murray or something and got an okay running back and just tried again like they did with Isaiah Crowell, but they're probably going to break the bank on Le'Veon Bell.
And it seems like they've got the Patriots build of a roster on offense, but they don't have Tom Brady, and that's the problem. Right. It's like Tom Brady could make Anunwa, Anderson, Herndon, Kearse, and McGuire, and they Powell, whatever, make them look like all stars. But with Darnold, it's not quite there. So it's cheap, but it's not going to exactly get you there.
It's probably not going to happen, but I just think they're actually a team in a situation where if it was built right, they could actually do something next year, the next couple of years. Everyone else seems to have so much baggage or problem with their cap space. I don't know. The Jets just seem like if they made the right moves, they could do pretty well. They won.
I feel like did you say, Peter, do you think they should splash on Le'Veon? Did you say it, Peter, if they should or not?
Oh, yeah, they should use the rest of their cap space for Le'Veon Bell, obviously.
I think so.
Yeah, that's what I think. Running back's really the only thing that matters until you numbers geeks figure that out.
Math.
The game's going to continue to suffer for it. Math. It's just math.
I'm curious of the Darnold and Herndon love real quick. I would like to test that. Mm-hmm. Darnold, are we wanting Darnold above Josh Rosen at this point?
Sure.
I would.
I'll flip a coin.
The only reason he was ever above Rosen is because everyone's scared of Jake, as far as I can figure out. There was no reason for him ever to be below Josh Rosen, ever. Start a little higher.
Was Jake threatening to come beat people with golf clubs or something like that?
When he had the private chat with me, it was a crowbar. I mean, he might have threatened golf clubs with you. I don't know. I assume he had one with everyone.
Okay. All right.
Tomato, whatever. Battery's battery.
Yeah.
Whatever physical
battery.
Violence he threatened on you. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this then. Chris Herndon, would you rather have Chris Herndon or Vance McDonald? And I know that you're going to say, hell, there's nothing matters after the top 3 tight ends. I'm just curious.
Herndon.
Vance, Herndon.
That's Herndon.
McDonald's like Elijah McGuire. I keep hearing every now and again someone will say, hey, there may be something. I'm like, who did they bribe to get that take out there? They've done nothing. They've been bad. I mean, no, don't draft those guys. So definitely Herndon.
Well, if he didn't stiff on that dude onto another planet, he wouldn't be as big of a thing. That stiff arm skyrocketed his value.
It was gross.
It was
nasty. I mean, it was an awesome stiff arm, but it just goes to show you how one play can affect our perception so much. It really can.
especially at a position where it's a complete dumpster fire. If you see somebody do something that puts a guy on IR afterwards, yeah, you're probably going to want that guy.
And then it starts to add up. It's kind of like my pretend Charles Clay take earlier. You can put pieces together to make Vance McDonald relevant. I mean, good offense. He's 27. That's prime age for a tight end. He looks good. I mean, he passes the eye test, but he's just never really produced anything to be of relevance, in my opinion.
Just going to throw it out there. Jesse James no longer in Pittsburgh. Shout out to D-Bro. Shouting that out in the chat. What's up, D-Bro?
Yeah.
Just
so now everybody.
Peter, I know it doesn't change.
What's up, Derek? Drinking whiskey tonight. Cheers to you, my man.
Okay. Are you guys ready to leave the upside down?
Wait, did we finish up? Are the Jets in the upside down? Because I don't really think that.
I think they are, because they were not good. Period. Last year.
I'm not ready for that. Okay,
is that
fine.
not a?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, yep, they're in the upside down. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
I just love that you give me more attention than you give Peter's actual good points. This is great. It makes me feel good.
Wait.
You're my co-host. You're my dude. You're my man. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Did I make a good point? Could you point out which one was good?
Peter, don't ruin it.
You did
There's not a lot of them, JMic. I need to write an article on anything I say that's good.
We'll just go back and just cut out the section, and then we'll just send you that audio clip.
Yep.
Yes.
Math.
There's got to be something in here.
We are 55 minutes in, and I think that the chat is lit enough for us to get to what I believe to be the main event of the night. This is the third week running. This is the third week running. The third week running of the random drafts that we've been having in preparation for the NFL draft and the combine and everything else. We're 2 weeks out. So for everyone else, and D-Bro, I love that. We'll come back to the AFC East to go back to the upside down after this draft, because I think that Buffalo and Robert Foster are a fun place to go.
I don't think so, but
you're the only one who thinks that, JMic.
Carry on.
Okay. Wait.
Oh, boy.
You're not going to bring me down.
No, keep going. Keep going.
Draft time. Draft time. Peter Howard, you've got the 101. I've got the 102. Harry. Gabe, I don't know how you jumped, but it looks like you're the 103. CA, the 104. Wildy, bringing up the rear. We are drafting. Yes. Looking at you, Bobby Koch. You're my man, 50 grand, and I love you like a brother. But your Girl Scout cookie takes can go kick rocks all the way up Mount Kilimanjaro. We are drafting Girl Scout cookies.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Peter Howard, you have the distinct honor, the pleasure, the privilege of being numero uno here. Please
don't mess this up.
Do not blow it. If you need a moment to Google Girl Scout cookie flavors because you don't really get into it, go ahead, do that. Pick the box that's the prettiest. Pick the one with the biggest.
I was going to say, I'm from
share.
England. Can I trade my 2020
first? Do not have Girl Scout cookies. I read that entire thread. It was like reading a foreign language. I have no idea what you're talking about. But I'm gonna go look up your answer right now, JMic.
Hold on. And, can I give you my 2020 first and my 103 and tell you that your stats are neat, and I get your 101.
Ooh, the first ever draft trade. Peter, what do you say?
Yeah, sure, take it.
I had a better offer than that, but all right, fine.
I have a problem. I have a problem with Peter Googling Girl Scout cookies just because I know what the first one that's going to pop up.
I'm not Googling it. I'm looking through JMic's timeline.
Oh, and you're gonna swoop in and take it. No, I think I'd enjoy that more. You know what?
I'm not really feeling this at all.
No, you're not feeling this. This is awful again.
JMic, how much do you tweet, man? Dang.
During that thread, it was pretty crazy.
I heard it got
he
heated.
fought for his cookie, man. He did.
Yeah, I heard it got heated.
He was mad.
It was fun.
Do you want me to?
No
Do you want me
one
to
was
take
mad.
it just so that you can have some time to look for this, Peter?
I do.
I mean,
I
the problem.
I
The
do,
problem
in
is
fact.
that if I go and JMic goes after me, is that you are not going to steal his cookie from him.
Yeah, you're not gonna steal it. So
Should we start talking about Robert Foster until then, or
That's like
I hate
Peter's
to
on
tell
the
you
clock.
this. I hate to
I
tell you
know
this,
it
Peter
began with
Howard.
an S. I began with an S.
I hate to tell you this, but you're at a crossroads.
hey,
Oh,
chicken
hey.
or crow? Chicken.
You either make
crow.
the pick or you trade the pick.
I'm just going to ignore you then.
Wow.
This is A+ right now.
I'm off the clock.
Content.
Headphones off. Just rips them off.
Gabe, just go.
It passes on. You want me to go?
Gabe, 101.
Okay. Yes.
Do it.
Okay. This is
You're about to disappoint
undisputed.
everyone, by the way.
No, I'm
You're gonna
not. I
disappoint
don't give a
everyone.
shit what anyone thinks because the chat isn't fucking real if they even think that this is the wrong answer. I will go back to the upside down about the chat being
This better be good.
unreal. I will go there and I will stay there if y'all try to attack me on this. The undisputed 100% keep it a buck 101 Girl Scout cookie from 2019 and beyond, from whenever the fuck they were established, is the Thin Mint cookie frozen. I'll say frozen just because I'm gonna leave the door open for y'all that just eat it regularly. That's cool too, but frozen. You put that in the freezer. Dog.
Bars.
Okay. Look. I don't know if y'all noticed, but all the names of the cookies changed. All the names of the cookies changed. Samoa's went to Caramel Delights, something corny like that. You know what Thin Mints changed to?
Thin Mints.
Thin Mints changed to Thin Mints.
Trash mints.
You know why? Because they're the original. You can't change what's perfect, y'all.
Y'all better be listening to Gabe right now.
Girl Scouts used to serve cookies on deployment. Girl Scout cookies, obviously. And we would receive them in these hot, sweaty shops, like 120 degrees. It'd be like 12 dudes around this little makeshift table, and they did not resemble cookies whatsoever. We'd all be fighting over like mutant Thin Mints that have been refrozen and reheated 900 times.
I'm not sure what to feel right now.
I don't know.
I just feel blessed that I can freeze my Thin Mints and eat them when I please. Or should we have this draft anymore?
Well, I guess. Well, I mean, first and foremost, thank you for your service, Adam.
Yeah, thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you.
But
for
your takes on the cookies are trash.
I would have took Thin Mints one.
Oh my goodness. I did not recognize that the trashery reigned so heavy. This is wow. Okay. 102. And shout out to everyone who's on the right side of this. And again, Girl Scout cookies are awesome. Love the Girl Scout cookie that you want to love. Embrace it. Dip it in milk, chocolate milk, whatever floats your boat. Almond milk, coffee. However you get down with your Girl Scout cookie, do it. Do you? At 102, JMic's delegation selects the Saquon Barkley of Girl Scout cookies.
You can't do that.
Tag-alongs. Tag-alongs. Tag-alongs.
Are they even called that anymore, JMic?
Tag-alongs.
They are not.
Yeah.
Tag-alongs.
Now that's the peanut butter with the chocolate over top of it, right? The tag-alongs.
Bingo. You got it.
You
got it.
Yeah, he got it right.
It's got the chocolate outside, the peanut butter on the inside, and heaven all mixed up in that mug. Just springing life.
Hey, just to be clear, the name Tagalong doesn't exist anymore. That cute, neat little name that you've got. It's actually called a peanut butter patty. So you go ahead and embrace that one, pal.
Here's the thing. It's still going to taste better than the Thin Mint. By the time Tom Brady has retired and is doing whatever else with aliens only. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm gonna put you right next to my Thin Mints in the freezer, bro. If you keep talking the way you do.
You know what, bro? You know what? We're moving on. 103. Peter Howard, do you have a 103 yet?
What were the picks before now?
Oh my god!
Look at
Thin
this.
mints in the freezer.
I'm muting my mic.
Peanut butter
and I'm
patties.
not talking to Peter.
Those were the only two ones mentioned in that thread. So how am I gonna? I tell you what, I'll take. They all look terrible. These are terrible cookies. Why do you guys eat these?
Oh my gosh, Pete.
These are awful looking cookies. But still, to support the Girl Scouts, I'll take the shortbreads. The trefoils, apparently, is the other name for them.
That sounds like something Peter would pick.
Yeah.
Well, the rest look like they would literally induce. Well, I'm not going to say what they would induce because it's for the Girl Scouts, and I don't want to associate those two.
I mean, at the very least, diabetes. I mean,
do they have sugar in them? Even they look like they've never seen sugar. Like sugary things should look tasty.
Peter, have you seriously never ever had a Girl Scout cookie?
I don't think so.
I
think my wife's bought some now and again, but I've never eaten them. I don't eat a lot of
Peter
stuff.
Wow.
All right, I will put it in an order. I will send you a box.
No, you're all right. You're right. You're good. I mean, I appreciate the thought, Chris. My heart's warming with your generosity here, but like, let's save us both some pain here. It's fine. Good.
Like, somebody get this man some Girl Scout cookies. Get some happiness.
Jake Anderson. Jake Anderson, we see you in the chat. And by the way, Peter, Jake in the chat says this is a total Peter pick.
He knows.
I'm on frame. I'm on frame. You should see Treefall's market share. That's all I gotta say. Matt.
That breakout age.
The breakout age for Treefall. Yeah. The Dominator rating.
Chris Allen at the 104.
At the 104, I mean, you guys got. I mean, Gabe already hit the number one for me. JMic, you came in right behind him, so I'm gonna have to keep it going with the peanut butter flavor. I'm gonna have to go with the Dosey Dos at the 104. I mean, just solid cookie. So if I can't have my first and second pick, I'm gonna have to go with that.
Sleeper.
Dominator rating through the roof.
It's kind of
I mean, look at that three cone for Dosey Dos, boy.
It's gonna break the combine. It's gonna break the Girl Scout combine.
You guys just don't even know.
Last but not least, Mr. Wildy.
Yeah,
bringing it home for all of us fat kids.
But I don't expect everyone to agree with me. So we were grocery shopping yesterday. We're walking inside, and there's the Girl Scouts, and we're all trying to eat healthy. And my wife and my cousin go, "What are we gonna say to them?" I said, "You're gonna tell them no." Like, everyone's so worried about not buying Girl Scout cookies because you're like gonna break their little hearts. But I don't know. I think they're kind of savages. They definitely peer pressure me all the time.
Why are you getting punked by some
Adam? Like, I just felt a cosmic link, like all the way to wherever you fucking are. Like, I had no idea we had so much in common, Adam.
They're just
like,
little girls. Like,
you've been hiding it, but you're basically me. Like, that's
the English.
I'm in love. Yeah.
Oh my! What is happening here?
Wow. I gotta say, I mean, I know he's right here, but I think we should kick Chris out and start a thing because anyone that can look at Girl Scouts and think savages. I'm on the same page as you, my man. I think
what just happened here?
Can y'all tell me what just happened? Sorry, I love you and everything, but no.
It's a budding bromance of hatred. A budding bromance of hatred. This is wow.
Anyone that can look at something as just pure and wonderful as Girl Scouts and think fucking savages. That I like. Obviously, I have to talk more to that person.
They look at me like I'm a savage for wanting to.
Don't back up. Own it. Lean in.
That's fine. Where's Jake at? I'm going to get Jake, and we're going to do our own thing. Get you guys.
You're getting the better deal, Chris.
Jake and I are starting our own podcast. You guys have your own.
Chris, we can start our own Thin Mint podcast right now. I have the power. I can kick out all three of them.
There's gonna be some like tectonic plates are shifting around here in the fantasy community because there's some shit's about to change right here.
Yeah.
Let's face it, you won that trade. I mean, if we put it on Twitter right now, you'd like run away with it.
Yeah,
we just had our first ever open bar co-host swap.
Yeah.
We just had our first ever bromance over hatreds. I'm pretty sure they're both communists.
It happened through Girl Scout cookies.
Both communists.
We'll just make a pick here so we can move on.
I like lemon. I picked the lemonades.
Oh my god. All right.
That is so an Adam pick. I knew it. I knew it.
That's enough.
I knew it.
Let's not take it any further.
It was either that or you're going to pick the worst one, which are the Samoas.
Yeah, I would throw away Samoas.
The Samoas are trash. Anybody that tells you Samoas are good, they're lying to you.
Yeah, overrated. Most overrated cookie for sure.
Coconut.
I'm so glad that we can unite against the forces of Samoas, guys.
Yeah,
I appreciate you guys on that.
They are called caramel delights now, just to be clear.
Garbage.
I didn't even know there was caramel in them. I just tasted the coconut.
You don't want to know what's in those.
Jake just said Samoas are a UDFA.
So does anybody want to know who I took over Charles Clay?
I cannot. That's not wrong though. Samoas really are UDFA.
Not wrong.
You're not wrong at all.
In this 1 through 5 draft.
Are we done with this draft? Chris, do you have to go?
Have we started this draft?
Did you pick?
I mean,
I don't know.
I picked.
Are we snaking back? Are we snaking back or what?
all I really remember is Adam coming on here and describing every Girl Scout in America as a savage that should be avoided at all costs, and that's really, I think, all we should take away from it.
If I'm eating poorly,
and Samoas are trash.
Fine.
Yeah, that too.
All right. Are we literally done though? Did everyone pick JMic? Because I'm gonna take the mic. Chris, did you pick? Did you?
Yeah, Dosey Dose.
Dosey Dose, right? Okay, yeah. So back to me. My turn. I have in front of me right now for those watching. Thank you for joining us.
That's a piece of heaven.
Yeah. Oh boy, this came straight from the freezer. Boy, this is about 28 degrees right now. I'm not exactly sure what temperature you're supposed to keep a freezer, but I'm just totally guessing. And if you're listening in podcast form, right? I have what some call heaven in my hand. I have what some call a Thin Mint in my hand. It's frozen. It's delicious. I'm about to eat it. The rest of y'all are going to be quiet as I crunch on this Thin Mint, and everyone in the world that's listening to this podcast or watching on YouTube can enjoy it with me because they know exactly what they're getting into. Agreed?
I'm jealous.
You get one shot at making this crunch count. One shot.
We might have to change. We have to change the intro for this one. It's the opening bar.
Opening crunch.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm going to turn my mic up. Can you hear me now? Am I getting louder? Am I getting louder?
Got it.
Solid crunch. I mean, you don't have to keep chewing in the mic, but the first crunch gives me the idea that
it becomes a bit more intimate afterwards. That we don't have to do all that.
Well, those next few crunches were for you, Chris. But yeah,
I appreciate it. I mean, now I'm jealous, but still, I'm gonna have to go.
Daddy,
I need some Thin Mints in my life.
Okay, so to Jake Anderson, to Bobby Koch, and everyone else, a part of the Samoa tribe, we love you. And it's okay for you to be wrong and to like disgusting things.
The Samoa
just
tribe.
recognize that in an unbiased panel of 5 people, even one guy who you co-host a pod with, Jake, nobody wants Samoas. But God bless you and keep you. Hope you love it. Moving on. Thank you guys. That was a good draft and great crunch, Gabe. I'm impressed. You did me
How'd
proud.
That sound?
You did.
Can't wait to hear that
great.
back.
Aton's in the building. What's up, Aton?
Aton and Stompy as a team, they're in Stoppa.
No bull. Compa bull to a.
Yep.
All right. So
that's a bar
Robert
right there.
Foster in the Buffalo Bills. Do we want to talk? Now we got two directions that we can go.
Yeah.
Robert Foster in the Buffalo Bills, or
we still talking about the upside down, yes?
Or we can leave the upside down and we can talk about our favorite team, the Cleveland Browns, because we touched on them pre-show, Kareem Hunt, and then we kind of left. Wildy, I see you rubbing your hands together. I think you have a strong preference here.
No,
Adam's ready to go.
I can't talk about bottom 5 teams anymore. Like, I think there's a limit. Right. So we're going with Cleveland. I don't know that I dislike Chubb's value that much because, like I said before the show, I think that Kareem's going to get hit with 10. That leaves 3 games left in the fantasy season anyway, so you still have to make the playoffs with Chubb. Take those 3 games that he's going to get integrated into the system. Chubb's still going to be fine. I think Kareem Hunt's going to do some cool stuff from week 14 to 17. And then I think he's going to get traded, and the Browns are going to take their value. So I like it for both of them. I mean, we talked about it before the show. I took Kareem Hunt at 104, and that was after we found out he was on the Browns. That's insane value to me. I don't think I have any quarrels with either of those running backs after this situation.
It's weird, man. It's it's so hard to assess because, man, both of them are just clear top end talents in the NFL. So it seems, and for them to be on the same team, it would eventually seem that one is not going to be there, whether it's halfway through or by draft time. Even, I mean, it's just kind of bizarre, and maybe they just don't quite. He's just there for insurance, and certainly he should be hit with a suspension. We'll see, but yeah, I think it's completely. My question though is like, are y'all really drafting or buying or whatever? Like, I've seen some offers come through my inbox for Hunt. Like, are these people buying for this season or just kind of a buy low opportunity? Are they coming at it in terms of a 2020 type of deal and hoping that he lands in a spot somewhere other than next to Wubba Chubb? Or what are we thinking? What are people thinking when they go and draft this player or trade for this player?
Well, that's the beauty of, I think, right now of this time of year and this happening right now. And for those that didn't get to witness this pre-show, Wildy and I are in the league. Again, we mentioned Trade Addict 6. And in that league, the Kareem Hunt news came out right at the end of our first round. And shout out to friend of the pod and SFBA champion Stompy, Sam Lane. He actually took Chubb at 109. And then maybe 2 hours later, the news dropped regarding Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt still found a way to drop all the way to the 9th round where Wildy got him. So, I mean, that's a ton of players, a ton of value coming off the board for a guy that we've watched for the last year and a half be absolutely outstanding on an offense that is, a preeminent offense in the league. But we watched him. We watched all the things that Jake Anderson has been telling us about for the last year and a half: the contact balance, the speed, the power, the everything that we like to see out of a running back to get 3 downs of work. We could be watching the next Thunder and Lightning, if you will, in Cleveland. A couple of guys that could both end up being incredibly fantasy valuable, a la Kamara, Ingram. What do you guys? Is it possible that we could be looking at 2 top probably 15 backs, say by whenever he comes back, weeks 10 through the end of the year? Could that be something we could see here?
Just to drop something completely irrelevant into the silence while you all think, I just found an article that says the owner of the Steelers has agreed to part ways with Antonio Brown.
Woohoo!
That's I think that's from earlier when they had their meeting. They have a they had a very nice talk, and they took a nice picture afterwards. So they agreed to try to trade him, but Brown and his agent are not allowed to talk to anybody else. So it's pretty much where they were at before, except for in better moods with each other.
Taking pictures for Twitter and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, he's off his rocker. We talked about that a little bit too. I mean, who knows what's going on in his head?
Why do wide receivers get that so much? Like, not knowing about cookies and stuff. I mean, Odell Beckham like fought with a goal.
With the kicking net?
I don't know what that is. Odell Beckham fought with a goalpost, and Antonio Brown gets his hair cut, and they're losing their minds. And it's not like a video of them doing something mean and horrible. Like, I don't know, they've like lost their minds. I think might say that a little strongly. Then again, I'm not on their Twitter feeds. I don't follow them Twitter feeds. But
he's different. Like, he's a lot different than he was. That's why I say he's lost his rockers. I mean, I think maybe he was just quieter, and maybe he was always this guy that's kind of surfaced a little. But I remember him being my favorite player and thinking he was a real cool guy. And JMic alluded it might be the money, but he's not getting paid all that crazy amount. That's part of the reason they're in this situation.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
asking, though. I literally don't know what's put everyone off so much. Like, the haircut was funny. But that's all I know about. Like, what did he do?
I don't know. It's to me, it sounds like a lot of the things that we've all discussed, like in DM threads and whatnot, about the tribalism portion or aspect of the game, where a lot of people, once people start seeing a player or like one of quote unquote their players start talking against the establishment, then people start to get upset. And I think there's a fair amount of that where a lot of folks were like, oh yeah, AB's the best. He's on our team. He's the Steelers, black and gold, yellow, all that. And then now that he's starting to speak out against the team, everyone, like, they think he's just completely toxic. So it's just been a complete 180 over the past few weeks, and I don't think too much has really changed about him, other than now that he's speaking out. I mean, I don't think that. To me, it looks.
That's one.
Go ahead.
No, man, I keep interrupting people, and I fucking shouldn't. That's what it kind of seems to me. I was asking if I'd missed anything, like he would, he was caught on camera, sniffing glue or something. I mean, other than that doesn't seem that serious to his ability to play to me.
Yeah, I did see that somebody had brought up the hit that he received from I think it was like Burfict or something like that a year or two ago in the playoffs. Like, his demeanor changed like completely, like shortly after that incident, and then it was like after that, like he started to become much different of a player. And I think that's what some people are trying to link it to, that last concussion that he got, like I think it was maybe 2 years ago in the playoffs or something like that, before I think the Steelers went to go play the Broncos, and then AB couldn't play in that game. I think that was the one where everyone's like, after that hit, he was significantly different. But again, I'm not entirely sure.
So
yeah, I mean, I just think.
Sorry.
No, it's my fault.
I just saw Derek Brown making a good point. I mean, about AB, a lot of the stuff that he's saying is perfectly factual. I say he's off his rockers because he's acting different from the AB that I used to love growing up. But anyways, the thing that you did miss, Peter, in not following him is that he made that video where he would like to be referred to as Mr. Big Chest going forward.
Say it with your chest.
Like someone that's perfectly sane, but also, how many reps of 225 did he put up? Anybody remember? Long time ago? Didn't get
I don't remember
much.
I'm gonna say 5.
Just curious. I'm just curious how much, like, what could have made him want to call himself Mr. Big Chest.
I don't know.
You see, this, I guess, and I'm not saying you're the one saying he's crazy, Adam. That's like what is said. Like, it's not your take. And that's why I'm just checking, like, what have I missed? Because this is reading into behavior on Twitter. And that video, like, if I posted it, everyone would be, well, you've got no chest, dude. But also probably assume, or posted some crazy thing on Twitter, everyone's like, he's just making a joke or something. But Antonio Brown does it, and we're able to read into his mental state. But an owner makes a photo op, and we're able to accurately see that's just a photo op, and really they're in the same situation. I think we're overly I think Chris is right. We want him to be losing his rocker because there's some kind of sour taste at a player taking charge of his own future vocally and out front And, you know, that's far removed from fantasy football, so I got shit to say about it. But relating it to fantasy football, I think it's mostly noise. Like, I think all of that sounds like shit. Unless I'm missing a big deal, like he was honestly sniffing glue, diagnosed with a mental condition, and reading into behavior on Twitter sounds like so much noise. But that's why I'm asking. Like, I have no shit about real NFL compared to you or Chris or anyone else here.
Because
so I was just asking, have I missed something?
Isn't this what we did with Dez? Like, as he was exiting the Cowboys, where everyone was like reading into the Twitter remarks, the things that he was saying about Jason Garrett. I mean, the rest of the organization, and then we looked at him as being completely toxic. And then it was after he left, it was, oh yeah, well, that team really is trash, or the organization really is trash. So there was some truth to what he was saying. I mean, regardless of what you thought about Dez Bryant as the player at that particular point in his career, I don't think that anything that he was saying was completely so blown out of proportion that it completely ruined what we perceived it for him to be as a player at that point. So I don't know. I think we're kind of taking this and trying to, I guess we're trying to put a fantasy spin on things that we see on Twitter that really don't have too much to do with what would actually happen on the field. I don't know. I don't know. I guess that's where I see most of this analysis coming into play.
Well, that's a really good point. Like, relating it to fantasy football that way is fairly smart. Like, Des did suffer and struggle after that, but maybe it has an effect. And if the teams are seeing him that way, it affects the opportunity he gets. It affects
that's fair.
How well he's played. That may be, but I don't think it says much about their ability. Like, maybe they're losing it. Like, but I think we will never fucking know any more than I know anything about these guys, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying anyone else is saying that either. It's just I hear it so often. I just wonder, am I missing something? That's why I was asking, just purely that.
Well, if they were playing football games right now, I don't think that we'd even have this conversation. So you can take solace in that, Peter. I don't think it's if we had football going on, but we don't. I say he lost his record just because he seems like a different person than he was before. I don't think that it necessarily matters. I actually tried to mute any AB conversation on Twitter, but I forgot how to do that. So if anybody wants to tell me, I own him in so many leagues, and I know that he's a top 3 wide receiver at least, like Jake was just saying. So like I have him on so many teams. I just want to not hear about it until he puts up 30 points in the first game for whatever the hell team, and then I can be like, oh, thank goodness that's over. I can mute AB on Twitter.
Yeah,
somebody please help Paul Wilde with muting on Twitter.
Yeah, mute him. Like, I think that there's a way you can mute any conversation that has his name.
Yeah, you can mute specific keyword. We'll talk about it afterwards. I had to try and teach him how to like schedule tweets.
You want to do what? You don't want to do that right now?
We'll figure it out later.
We shouldn't take that time on the open bar to do.
We'll figure it out later.
I'm having second thoughts about this co-host switch because
you got yourself
someone
into,
that could teach me to life might be.
Yeah. You do this.
No, I want Chris now. That's I can really use that.
It's too late. It's too late.
This is your problem now.
This is to announce mine and Adam's retirement from Twitter because we don't have anyone to tell us how to do it anymore.
How did you guys not outlast the Alliance Football League?
Right, we couldn't even make it past the AAF. That is so sad.
Hopefully,
you guys let the Orlando Apollos outlast your budding friendship. I'm so sad.
Yeah.
That is the best shade I've ever heard thrown. But no, seriously, I went on a podcast the other day with Dynasty Outhouse and Tyler Gunther from DHH, and all of us were out without our co-hosts, and the show was just us rambling. And we all three came to the end of the show and was like, we need our co-hosts. Let's not tell them. But without them, we're basically just cats, like pouring around,
just cats.
Tearing at the curtains. You can't get us to march in a straight line. Our co-hosts are keeping us so on point. It's unbelievable. So that's all to say. Don't tell Jake that. He doesn't need to know how valuable he is or anything. But
right.
Yeah. I completely derailed a conversation about a completely different player, and now we're on to podcast co-hosts. So, JMic, you want to remind anyone what we were actually talking about?
Math.
Well, at this point, I was just going to let Gabe know we're at the 88-minute mark, so it's about time to bring it home.
Oh, jeez.
And take it to the house.
Why do we have to spend 30 minutes on Girl Scout cookies?
Why do we do anything here? I don't even know, Gabe.
That's a good point. Why do we? Why do we space? Because we have a good time, man. This has been lovely. Should we talk more? Should we?
I got one more. Unless you guys have anything else that you'd like to talk about. Real quick, Trader Joe put in the chat, would you rather have your boy Cortland Sutton or the 101?
Oh no. Oh no.
A whole lot of 101.
101.
101?
I will only say 101 because I think you will get Cortland Sutton plus on May 1st and May 15th. And that's just how things work.
So interesting enough, I just wanted to add this because I saw it earlier when I was scooting through the ADP that DK Metcalf and N'Keal Harry, they're pretty close in the ADP, but they're farther down than the 101 went in our Superflex that we were talking about earlier, Addict 6. I took the 101 way earlier than either of them went in ADP, and that just goes to show that you get that extra boost with the 101 because it could be anyone. I mean, maybe you want to make the mistake of drafting Josh Jacobs at 101. I can help you with that.
Okay.
By giving you the 101. So that's what makes it so easy for me. It's not that I dislike Sutton. It's just that the 101 is so valuable because everybody wants to plant their flag on their 101 when we don't have that Saquon Barkley. So while just take the 101 and then get Sutton plus later when somebody wants to draft Josh Jacobs and then go trade for the 102 and get N'Keal Harry, who should go 101.
How about to the player then?
Totally.
Out of interest, like Sutton to Harry or Sutton to what's the other guy's name who you shouldn't draft? I forget. Metcalf.
DK Metcalf.
Right.
Who you shouldn't draft.
I think Harry, Sutton, Metcalf for me, but I like all three a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, Harry and Sutton would be pretty close for me. And yeah, I mean, I always pick kind of one wide receiver guy per year, and those two would be right there for me. So that'd be tough. I'm not ready for that, JMic. Don't make me do that.
Yeah, let's get a team for those three, and then it would be a fun conversation to have for sure.
It's all about landing spot, right? That's what I've heard. All that matters is landing spot.
That's what people say.
So can I, one question though, or maybe just a discussion real quick about that whole thing with wide receivers and they're going so high and they're so early in their careers. Like what is it about these wide receivers that we want so badly that we seem to have missed on quite a bit, frankly, the past few years between, Treadwell and Coleman and Doxson and Treadwell. Did I already say Treadwell?
He missed that badly. So
Kevin White
and Kevin White and Devontae Parker and Philip Dorsett and
so
honestly, these guys
first rounders. All right,
but in college.
Yeah.
Okay, so is
all
that
of those guys were underprotected in college?
And okay, and this is what I wanted. Hey, Peter, this is your chance for me to say more than So because I'm serious because I've just been I have no idea. Like this is not something that I am knowledgeable in whatsoever, but I'm just curious about these athletic profiles, these guys that go so high in ADP, and I've seen them in like second, third, fourth round for the past 4 years that I've been playing Dynasty, these wide receivers, and you start your startup Dynasty drafts with 5 young wide receivers and you end up having these like third, fourth, fifth round guys that are all like first or second year guys. And like, where's the production from them until 3 or 4 years later? And then all of a sudden you have a Corey Coleman and Devontae Parker on your team as your wide receiver 4 and 5. Like why are they so high and they're just not hitting? Why are these the guys that we're picking? What are we missing? And I think, Peter, you have an answer for that?
I got a few. but you're asking an honest question when I'm in shit talk mode, and that's difficult. But yeah, all the guys you just mentioned were underproductive by the way I evaluate it in college. Some of them suffered injuries and therefore might have done more in college if they hadn't been injured. Frankly, that's not their fault. But there are players that were very productive in college who also missed. Some people think Corey Davis is a miss. I'm still on the train, but I get that.
Guy I'm worried about. I think could end up being like Devontae Parker, not like similar players, but just in terms of production, like a letdown of sorts. Yeah,
it's a really fair question. There's a lot to it. There's no silver bullet. Like I've been joking about market share and math all day today, but like there's no silver bullet if you're not taking in the opinions of film evaluators or you know, Jake's the one I always mention because he's the guy opposite me on my podcast, but they all do great work and they can tell you a lot more about a player specifically. But just happenstance, the ones that have missed over the last 5 years have all been severely underproductive in college. That's one thing to look for, because if a player's good in the NFL, they're normally really good at college, right? Because they're just a beyond level talent. Now, players that don't follow that rule, just to point out where it isn't always 100%. Michael Thomas was clearly underproductive in college.
Right.
That was bad of me. And also AJ Green. AJ Green's pretty fucking good and wasn't overly dominant until a later age, at least in college. So college production does get you some of that, but you have to pay attention to everything else. What I'd say, just because you're mostly asking about like in regular drafts, like in actually drafting for your team, not a rookie draft. I think Dynasty overvalues young wide receivers. It really does. It's not that the logic isn't there. Plain and simple. But the way I've been looking at it lately is if you average the points that players who would play at 29 or 30 in any given year, their points per game over the next 3 years are like incredibly dominant over players that come into the league at that same year. So the players that played at age 29 and 30 today, about 80% of them will beat the rookie wide receivers are about to draft for the next 3 years in points per game. And that's not built into the dynasty logic, because I think we think about you can only build in one way. So for so long, we've been talking about building through youth and trading for picks and trading for potential. I think it's a little backwards. For one thing, there's no one rule for every team in every league. There's just not. The idea that anyone's come up with something that always works is just asinine. But that's why. It's because we're all thinking about building and staying young and creating a dynasty when really it doesn't work. Most wide receivers do not hit. And even average to average players that have had a top 24 season before at the ages of 29 or 30 are going to beat the rookies we're about to draft for the next 3 years. Now, the other part of that is if they come in and be productive, then they're not just good, they're Odell Beckham. So there's a lot of upside there.
Sure, you don't want to miss that. But like, I still think that, you know, we got a bit jaded from that 2014 class. And it's just,
2012 was good as well.
Yeah, but we're finally maybe we're in 2019 now, and we're 5 years later, and are we like kind of getting back to the point of like, because I've seen the running backs come back to the top, and I've been talking about this the past, you know, however long, but wide receivers also came back, but it's also because those wide receivers have taken the time to develop. So sure, they come around, but it just like, it takes time, and it's just, it's so frustrating to put an investment in, you know, a startup or a rookie pick or whatever, and just fucking wait and just kind of hope. And maybe they do hit real quick, like a Michael Thomas or an Odell Beckham, but they really don't that often.
They don't. Like, and the other point is you can still have a balanced team with youth and age and product. You can try and win, and you don't have to give up on Chris Godwin, for example. You can get good, productive young players. And Antonio Brown was drafted later, so he's not the clearest example, but he took 3 years to break out. Calvin Johnson broke out in his first year. So there's no one rule. You got to look at your team, look at your league, but really we're about winning, and you can win with 29-year-olds for at least easily 3 years, and by then most dynasty leagues shut down. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And to your point about, you know, building a dynasty and getting more picks and younger players or whatever, I think people get you know, a bit overconfident in their process, like trusting your own process and believing that will work.
know
and then you and I'm totally guilty of that, 100%. I mean, I've drafted. I was all on Josh Doxson, and I had pieces of Corey Coleman, and you know, Josh Doxson isn't necessarily dead. There's a part of me that my ego that's just like, yeah, he's fine. But
he really looks the part.
Exactly.
The other part I would say. Sorry, Gabe, because you're making really good points and being funnier than I ever could. But the other part I would say about that, I've forgotten.
Perfect.
He's speechless.
No, shit. There was another good point, and I completely forgot it. Sorry, carry on.
Well, think about it, or think about it for you, Peter. But what about you guys? Have you felt that way? And I don't know how. I know JMic, you're just in the game for Dynasty the last couple of years, but I feel like I jumped in around it was like literally it's the worst year to jump into Dynasty. It was like the wide receiver uprising between OBJ and like, okay, now we have to build around the wide receiver. And then the following year in 2015 with Devontae Parker and Kevin White, and it's just like, okay.
I think JMic,
I don't know. So
I think JMic's a good person to ask because he just started playing Dynasty, I believe. One of the parts to this, I think, and I know this is speculation, you guys are all smart and know more than me, so correct me if I'm wrong, but part of it is why we play Dynasty and not redraft, right? Part of the reason I started in Dynasty leagues was because I built a great team around 2014, funnily enough, and I was just like, man, I wish I could keep these guys and like keep rolling these guys out. And so then I switched over to Dynasty more than redraft, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to draft my Odell Beckham, not my Mike Evans, obviously, screw that. Hey, and I wanted to just continually roll them out every year. Almost
a guy that hit, by the way.
Yeah, that hit well, but I never said it. So I think part of Dynasty is you want to do that feeling of having your guys and just like almost collecting your favorites, and these guys are going to hit. So I think there's some of that math going into Dynasty as well. Like if you look at players that are putting up hundreds or thousands of dollars on fantasy football, lots of them are drafting Emmanuel Sanders. Lots of them are drafting old wide receivers that they know are going to continue to be good. Julian Edelman's got a higher ADP. The rest of us are like, I want the next Odell Beckham. That's it.
And to be honest, like there's no fun in that if you don't like go and swing on a guy. Like what would you be like? There's fun in that. They're just downright like whether you're in it for money or to flex, like whatever. Like you want to draft the next Odell Beckham, no matter who you are.
Right, exactly. And it's just I think that's part of it. But JMic, you just started playing Dynasty. Why Dynasty? As someone just starting it.
And I want to let Wildy and Chris tackle the better part of that question, but just the why Dynasty for me in general. And I think we talked about this either a week ago or I'm not sure, but just the whole I'm one of those kids that grew up on Madden, and so growing franchise mode and being able to build it right. So I got into fantasy football in college. While we're playing college football, we're loving fantasy football and diving into that. And then I got into Dynasty in the last 2 years. But it's just this idea of being able to build and continue to build and move forward with something year to year. And so it's basically it's almost like graduate level fantasy football, if you will. And I don't say that boastfully, but it's just like when I want to take this a little bit more seriously and have a lot more fun and dig a little bit deeper and immerse myself a little bit more, like it's like, okay, Dynasty is the natural next step. So that was for me. But as far as the conversation that you and Gabe were so eloquently putting together, I'm just curious of Wildy and Chris's thoughts as other incredibly smart people to be able to dive in and comment on that.
So we were talking about the kind of the roster construction stuff. You guys mentioned the keep forever thing. Least favorite quote in Dynasty by far is that could happen for the next 10 years. Your league's going to fold before the next 10 years unless you're best friends. But anyways, if I had to pick something that I'm actually good at besides taking everybody else's ideas in Dynasty, I would want to say it's roster construction. And my favorite way is take the young running backs, take the old wide receivers. If somebody's going to play more than 2 years and they're producing at a high level, I want them because that means I get to use them. And then I'm still probably going to trade them for something decent. And then I'm going to take the young running backs and I'm going to sell them when they're hot for other young running backs. So you could have had, like right now, you could have had Chubb and then traded for something like Dalvin Plus, because I believe in Dalvin. He's relatively young. So that's the type of philosophy I'm looking for. Maybe not those two players, but just tearing down at running back and staying young at running back, because we've seen on all of Peter's cool charts that the young running backs get stuff done and the old receivers get stuff done. So we're really overthinking it. I don't need somebody for the next 10 years. I actually won the championship last year. My favorite roster has CMC on it because I got him before he was CMC. And then it has Antonio Brown, Larry Fitzgerald, Julio Jones, and AJ Green, all from the startup. And it's like people let you do that because those are old wide receivers. But I would venture to say that all three of those guys, with the exception of Larry Fitzgerald, because he's literally almost 35, are going to be top 10 wide receivers the next 2 years. So old wide receiver, young running back, keep cycling the running backs, be a little more lenient with your wide receivers, and I think you're going to have a great time. Never tell yourself that you're going to have this player forever, because you're not going to have your league forever.
No, and I think building off of what Adam had said, I've come at it from a different angle just because I haven't done Dynasty for nearly as long as Adam has. And that's where I'll look at things more from a redraft perspective, and where Adam will bring in his Dynasty aspect. And then that's kind of how the Dynasty Owner's Manual functions, because I like looking at things from a draft standpoint, because that's typically what I like doing. So the problem with Dynasty, though, is as you graduate from redraft to Dynasty, as JMic put it, is that the value of some of these players, it transitions, right? Because you're not looking at these players in just a 1 year window. You're looking at these players over time, at least the next 2 to 3 years, assuming however long your league lasts. So and I think, Peter, your point is poignant in the fact that a lot of us, we do have this, I want to have a younger player because they're going to be, I want to have this dynasty mindset, so I want to get these younger players. Well, if they're not always going to be as productive, why do you want those players? Is it just because it's a part of dynasty, and that's just been kind of what's been drilled into us as dynasty managers? I think that's part of the case, where you can find actual productive wide receivers ahead of most of those other players, but they wind up getting drafted later because a lot of people want to try and draft the next Odell Beckham, and they want to draft the next, even if you wanted to try and hit on Sammy Watkins or some of those other players that have come out recently, but will wind up whiffing and picking Laquan Treadwell or Auden Tate or whomever in that quest to try and hit on the next great wide receiver. And I think that's where the balance, and that's what a lot of the intrigue for me comes into play in trying to sift between, okay, well, what is important in that process for determining what is a productive wide receiver going to look like coming out of college and into the NFL. And that's where a lot of the stuff that you've been doing, Peter, and some of the other folks that are in the chat or discussing here tonight, that's what we're looking for, right? Is what is that process for determining what a productive wide receiver is going to look like based off of the things we know now, in that their college production, their metric size, and all that. And I think that's where my guess is that's kind of where we're all headed, right? Like trying to find out what the process is for determining what's important, like what is actually important. And if we can come to an understanding or at least an agreement over what's important, then we can all kind of come up with our own twists as to, well, I know this is important, but I like using this strategy, or I still value a player that's 29 or 30 over some of these other players. But I think once we come to that agreement as to what is actually important and what's actually necessary in determining what the transition is from college to NFL, then we can all sit down and say, okay, well, now we can come up with our own flavors for how we want to build our rosters. And that's where roster construction and all that comes into play.
And if everybody wants to dig in more to the roster construction, the _.
Oh my God.
Engineer Kevin is amazing.
He stepped away for a minute, but yeah.
He did step away for a minute, but
KOB.
The dude for roster construction. So when he's back, if you've got roster construction questions, he would love to help you. He loves talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, check out the Dynasty Owners Manual, right?
That's where I thought the plug was going.
I didn't want to plug until I was prompted.
I was gonna be
Sweetheart.
like mildly impressed if that is where Adam was taken. I was like, damn, dude, like he didn't even get asked for that.
This guy podcasts.
I know.
Your training is paying off.
Yeah, he's in the business. Like you can remain my co-host if that was where he was taking it. He didn't do it. He didn't do it.
You're gonna have to, hey Chris, you're gonna have to talk to him about lemonades, bro. But
we have a lot to work on, man. We'll get there though.
Hey, it's a dynasty, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's automatic.
It's automatic.
Last thing. Aton posed this real fast, and this can be a quick range for you guys before we get ready to head out. Aton asked the question, and I lost it. He said, ideally, what age range do you want each position group on your dynasty team? Which I feel like is a really interesting question. And we don't have to necessarily go super deep into it, but Aton proposed this. He said about 22 to 26 for running backs. He said 24 to 29 for wide receivers, and for tight ends about 27 to 32. What are your all thoughts on those real quick?
And I guess if I'm talking about quarterbacks, I'd probably want quarterbacks somewhere on the edge of where tight ends are at. If I'm thinking about it right now.
Yeah, 29 is like their peak.
Yeah, I would say somewhere in that range for quarterbacks as well. Like probably maybe slightly older than tight ends, but somewhere in that age range. But I don't think anything that he said is too far off. I'd probably lean on the younger side of that range for running back, so like maybe 23, 24, somewhere in there. Yeah. Wide receivers seem fine though.
It was just a little more broad than the general sense for hit rates that I've seen. It's usually like 21 to 24 for running backs, and then like I would give like 27 to 28-ish to 31 for wide receivers, and 31 is more generous than most. But the generic answer is like 27, 30 for wide receiver, the 21 to 24 for running back, and the 28 to 30 for tight end.
Mm-hmm. And those are ages where they're peaking too. So like obviously you want to hit that before they cost so much, and maybe not necessarily, but like dependent on said player. But ideally you want to buy low with a Devontae Adams. Like, my God, you could scoop him for a second, third round pick when he was just left for dead, and now all of a sudden he's a top 10.
Yeah, what was he worth like at the end of, what was it, 2016?
Oh yeah, I remember getting him in a startup at like 150 or something. It was
Lord have mercy.
It would seriously be like taking Josh Toxin right now, which I won't.
Yeah.
But that's
I know that Peter,
I won't do.
Peter,
don't do that.
Nah.
I like that,
JMic.
Which I won't do. Yes.
So, and this I know we keep kind of going here, but I know this is your boy, and I keep thinking about these players that have been, through the trenches of sorts, the gauntlet, whatever, and we've counted on them, and they're still hanging around on ADP, but they haven't exactly produced. This guy is like borderline starting to bother me, and I've been on his camp for so fucking long, but I'm wondering what to do now, and I'm curious what people think. Your boy, Sammy. JMic's dancing for y'all listening.
Yeah, for those in podcast form, I did my Sammy dance. Hashtag Sammy season forever. Is it more of a question of where do you take him, Gabe, or is it more of a question of
in general? He's had one top 24 season. He's had weeks where he's better than that, but for the most part, he's inconsistent. He is more so a flex option, yet he's treated like a wide receiver 2 in startups, and he's gone in the past like way higher than that, as in like a top 10 kind of startup pick, which doesn't matter now obviously, but he still keeps sticking around. And is that because he's now attached to Patrick Mahomes? Is it because of his previous kind of ADP where he was legitimate and can be legitimate? We know his profile, we know he was a top 5 pick. Like, what is it? Like, why is he hanging around, and what are we expecting? Like, what is our ceiling with Sammy Watkins? I just, like, he's another, I don't know. I'm like, I'm starting to go into the upside down, guys. And I'm scared as fuck. And I used to draft wide receivers so highly, and the young ones, and now I can't trust them anymore. So help.
But that's a really interesting point by you though, because and piggybacking off of this last conversation that we had from Aton's question, Sammy Watkins, 25 years old, turns 26 this summer, so he's still not even technically in peak wide receiver ages that we were looking for, right? So on top of all of that, going back on, and this is a beautiful tool that I just found on DLF. I had no idea this existed, but you can apparently look at ADP history from all DLF mock drafts. If you go back to February of 2014, Sammy Watkins is now at his lowest point ever.
Yep.
Of ADP 67.5 in February 2019. So,
but to be fair, that's what happens with all the rookie wide receivers. Not all, but that.
Right. He's just taking a long way to get there. Right. Mm-hmm. So he.
I think
he starts out at.
I think it's interesting that he's still holding like all the other wide receivers, and that goes back to Adam and Chris has mentioned it as well. I think that part of the reason these young guys wide receivers get ranked so highly is because of their value. I think the only mistake is then not to, if you're drafting them high because of their value, is then not to trade on that value. So if Sammy Watkins is still holding first round value, now's a good time to get it back, and maybe your last shot as he enters that second age when dynasty value sends a dip, because he hasn't been what we wanted. But we're playing dynasty. Back to JMic's point, he just wants to have fun, so he's going to keep holding on to Sammy Watkins, I guess.
But look, a year ago, and I'll let you have it, Wildy. A year ago, the same time, Sammy Watkins is going 30 spots earlier. 30 spots earlier a year ago when he's loading up for the Rams, right? So no. He's not even playing for the Rams yet at that point, is he? Or no, he just finished his Rams season, right?
That's when you could have traded for that value, which is why technically he was ranked so high to begin with. And if you didn't, then that's where the mistake was made, I think.
This is just an overall discussion at this point of it really looks like when you look at the graph, this is the dynasty community quitting on Sammy Watkins. That's what it looks like.
But like,
and I don't want to be a fish and make that happen. You know, I think it is a great opportunity to buy. You're right. You know what's there. You know, but
67 isn't that low though. I was gonna say, can I have like player references? Like who's
going around him?
Yeah. Like I don't know what I mean.
But when you talk about 2 years ago when he's peaking at 8 overall. And he spent several years, like a couple years, in the top 20. So when you look at 67, you're like, okay, that's not that low. Well, compared to where he's been in the last 3-4 years, this is the bottom. This is the bottom.
It's the bottom of Watkins, but is the bottom of his value. Like, is he still getting priced over players that are actually more productive? And that goes back to what we were all saying before. Like, it's not low if you have to pay someone who is more likely to be better than him, and he's resting on the hype of that young wide receiver class or whatever. That's why I was looking for players.
But the thing, Sammy, so I've thought about Sammy a lot. So you try to take out the first couple years because that was different. I mean, he produced great. He came from wide receiver university and top 5 pick and did awesome. Hurt his foot. It's been a lot different since then. So let's just look at the last couple of years. The thing about Sammy is he's not going to hurt you if you do believe in him. He has not hit the 27 to 30, or I like to say 31 because I'm still on board with AJ and Julio and AB, but he's not hit that peak yet. So if you do believe in him, he's always going to have the name value because just like you said, JMic, he was once a top 8 pick. And there's going to be 1 out of 12 people in your league that remember when Sammy Watkins was a top 8 pick, and they're going to trade for him. So if you ever want to get out of Sammy, he's like a low-risk stock. You can get in and you can get out pretty much whenever you want, and you're always going to get probably first-round value. I don't think he's going to get lower than this because he's going to get healthy and he's going to be in the best offense that we've seen in a long time. Right there with the Rams, like I said earlier, I like them pretty close to each other. So Sammy Watkins is an interesting case. I think you have to look at him as an isolated incident. And if you are in on him, now is a great time to buy. And if you go to sell, you're probably going to get at least what you set for him back.
I mean, but the thing about, like, you know, Julio and maybe not as much AB because it took him a few years, but I still think it might have just been the Mike Wallace block or whatever it was. Or maybe a different example would help, like OBJ or Hopkins or Thomas. Your boy Evans, Peter, is like all these guys produce so early, and like they're not even at that 28 to 30 peak. Like the you know. Is the best yet to come from those guys, and why are we treating, or why was Sammy ever treated that in that realm of like that he's going to produce for this 7 to 8 year period, when really we're looking at a hopeful 2 to 3 year period of when he turns 28 or 20. I think it can happen sooner than that, because he's with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and whatnot. Yeah, sure, fair. But man, it's just what a frustrating case.
See, it's like a disconnect. We're explaining and honestly pointing out the reason we ranked him high is because of the potential and that value carries over. But then when we get here, we're trying to persuade ourselves into his individual story. It's like the reason he was valued highly was because you could always get this value back for him. If you want to double in and make that risk again, that's fine. But the reason he was ranked highly was because you could trade him away now if he had hurt you. Right? It's like this was the bailout window. And Adam's right in that the bailout window might keep going. Like there'll be 8 guys in your league that will still trade. But like this was why he was ranked so highly, because the diminishing return was lessened because people keep trading for those wide receivers. So like we have to recognize that, yeah, you can double down because he's got Patrick Mahomes. But the reason, like Gabe just pointed out, that he was ranked highly was so that you could pull the ripcord if he did what he has done. So this is like in your ripcord moment. Like you can keep going if you want, but recognize the only reason he was ranked so highly was so that you could get out, ideally because the value of wide receivers keeps going. And I think it's 2 different conversations. Does Sammy Watkins succeed? That comes down to everything that you guys are talking about with Patrick Mahomes, the situation, the fact he was good, where he came from. Is it a good time to trade? Well, did you draft him in the first year and you've continued to hold on to him? In that case, no matter what he does, he probably can't pay back what you've already lost in value. So get out reasonably right now. If you've traded for him recently or you trade for him now, then it's probably worth rolling the dice. Does that make sense?
So I guess just building off of that real quick, Peter, would you use that same approach for like Amari Cooper, like right now?
That's a fair comparison.
Way more production,
but,
though.
Yeah, but he was also a lot more successful than Sammy Watkins.
Right.
No player compares well. But I think it's fair to consider the same process. For me, because it's dynasty and fun, I'm more in on Amari Cooper, and especially because what Gabe said, his first 2 years were phenomenal, especially for them being his first 2 years. I'm more willing to bet on that. But I think, I think you're right. You could apply the same process and decide for yourself if that's,
And the only reason I threw out the first couple years and then I tried to separate the two, like JMic started the conversation, is the 2014 owner doesn't have Sammy Watkins anymore unless it's a league that doesn't trade with.
Yeah, exactly.
So I try to
unless I was playing Dynasty in 2014.
Right.
Which I wasn't.
So like 2016 Sammy is when we're like in the 43, 44 ADP, and now it's down to like 50 something. So if you were in on 2016 Sammy, you've only dropped like 15 spots. So
it's really well said.
In my process,
I mean, I've had leagues where I start like my very first year with Sammy, costing me that top 24 pick, and I still have him because it's like it was never really worth it to me to let go for the price that people were offering. It just didn't.
That would have been the ripcord.
Yeah. What's funny looking back at that 2014 class too is like Sammy's the first guy there, and then Mike Evans, Odell, those guys have been probably the most reliable, and Devontae eventually, but like other guys have question marks. I think arguably like Brandon Cooks has had his, but like is it enough with where he's sharing with Cup and Woods at this point? And like, he seems to be a guy that isn't all that consistent anyways. Kelvin Benjamin, gone. Marquise Lee, bleh. Jordan Matthews, gone. Allen Robinson, we had his year in Jacksonville. Jarvis Landry, he went to the Browns now. Dante Moncrief was another guy like 3 years ago that was like a top 24 pick for 2 years in a row, and no one would give up on him. And I never gave up on him either. And
that's the thing.
And I'm ignorant to it. And my God. So I don't even know if the 2014 class like looks that great now. Like, sure, it has some great guys at the top, but like,
yes,
they had early hits, but they didn't pan out like in terms of longevity, which is incredibly important.
I would say it's a touch unfair. I mean, Jordan Matthews didn't fail you until he wrecked his knee. Like, that's like, I can't blame him for that. Like, I think he's a hit. He's an example of how the class was good. Yeah. Right. But yeah, you're all right. It's certainly not as good. But I do think wide receivers that hit early tend to be better over the sake of their career. But you're right there too. Even that's not perfect. Like, even that you can take. Like, you could have traded those guys after that first year for anything. Like, have my house, and I'll give you Jordan Matthews.
No,
so
shit.
Yeah, right.
I think it's just funny, like, when I'm sorry, JMic, we just have been rolling on and on about this, but it's just kind of interesting to me. Like, when people jump into Dynasty, like I did on that 2014 wide receiver year, you did on your, what year was it? Was it 2015 or 26 or 2017 rather?
So 2 seasons ago was my first season, so I didn't do rookies until last season.
Okay, but you jumped in on the season where basically running backs took over the world.
Yes, correct.
Right.
Yeah. Correct. So then you going into 2018 is like, all I give a shit about is running backs. Maybe, unless you're focused and you do your own process. But I'm just saying, like, maybe in general, a dynasty player would think that. And God, the seasons just change, man. And people don't really recognize that. Like, I would suggest, like, anytime you jump into a dynasty league, like, look back in the past 5 years and look at that dynamic of ADP or whatever you can look at, because my goodness, does it change?
I think we need to, put a shout out here for Gabe, who turned a bunch of guys who just shit talking each other and having fun, and immediately made them not only serious, but turn it into a fantasy football podcast. I honestly don't know I've ever seen anyone turn something so different into something else. So it was like turned us on a dime. That was
I didn't mean to. Wow. It's just like, it bothers me. I just started getting all these wide receiver names in my head. I'm like, fuck that guy.
That's why Gabe's the best.
Yeah,
that is why Gabe's the best.
Yeah,
I don't even know what we were talking about before that. I'm sorry, I just clicked. But
we're working on a marathon, Gabe, so we've got to go.
Right. Okay, sorry. Let's go. Let's get out of here.
But
this has been great.
We gotta go.
Yeah, let's get out. JMic's got children. We got to get the fuck out of here. But I think people would enjoy the latter half of this podcast.
Turn it into 2. It'll be fun.
Podcast form.
It'll be fun.
So okay, this has been great, fellas. I do appreciate y'all coming on. Whether bullshitting about Girl Scouts, the cookies, not the
savages.
Savages.
Yes. Settle down.
Speaking of, quick on that, like the ones they never really approached me. The one that got me was, she was sitting outside of this pizza shop that we go to, and it was raining, and she didn't say a word to me on my way outside of the pizza shop. But I was like, it's raining and I have to do a loop around and come back and get my Thin Mints. And I did it. She didn't say anything to me. It was just the fact that the weather was happening. So you might be onto something. Chris Allen, FFWX. Transition into Chris Allen, FFWX. Do you have something to say about yourself, about your co-host, about Peter, about JMic, about the beer that you brew? Anything you want to share about yourself?
How much time do I have?
This is your shit. I'm gonna leave. You go. You go.
You're the one that's sick. Thank you for braving your sickness and still being with us this long.
Yeah, that's one of the joys of being joys of being a parent, is that as your health goes with your kids' health. So yeah, it has been rough these past couple of days in the Allen household. But no, much appreciated to all you guys. Getting here to chop it up with you guys here tonight has been a wonderful event, and I hope we can get back and do this again here soon. But as I stated beforehand, with the Dynasty Owners Manual, I'm just the guy talking and trying to keep the conversation live, but Adam is the brains behind the entire operation. So don't tell him that I said that. Oh shit, he's on the call, isn't he? But regardless, okay, good. Regardless, yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Chris Allen FFWX, chatting about the weather and whatnot. That's what I'd normally do in season. During the off season, it's all research time, man. It is best ball season, so I don't know if you folks are into doing best ball drafts. Any folks in the chat do best ball drafts, but I'll be doing some research into that. So a lot of my analysis, I've actually got an article coming out in the next couple of days, digging into some of the 2018 trends analysis I've been able to do with some folks. I've actually been talking with the great Mike Beers, now part of RotoViz, and so I'll be doing some work for Fan Tracks, but I'll be building off of some work that he's done in the past. So, but yeah, getting back to writing. Adam and I got we actually, Gabe, you're next on the chopping block, brother, to come on the show.
I know. I'm sorry. I just had all these trips in February, but I'd really love to get on with y'all.
Yeah, but we will definitely get the man behind the music to Dynasty Owners Manual here soon. So, and Peter, we'll be knocking down your door here shortly. So, you're next, man. But no, much appreciated for the time tonight. So, thanks very much, fellas.
Yeah, 100. Thank you, Chris. Very much appreciated. Where you've got to be relatively close to New York then?
No.
Oh no, I thought you were, because we were
Ohio.
You kind of okay. You dipped in on the Twitter thing, and I thought that you might have been close to New York for our.
I was jealous to see all these fun people getting together.
Just jealous. Gotcha.
Yeah, just jealous.
Okay. Well, you just live in that jealousy, my man. Live in that jelly. We'll be your peanut butter, okay?
That's all right. We'll get out there soon. We'll chop it up and we'll get together at a brewery sometime soon, man.
Dude. Yeah. Your co-host, possibly the worse or better or lesser or more. I don't know. That's up to you guys. It's automatic. That's what I hear. Wildy, Adam. How are you tonight? I'm doing an intro again. We're actually starting the podcast over.
Yeah, let's just start over.
Yeah.
So since me and Chris are co-hosts, we kind of segue into each other and remember the little best ball thing that he said. Well, we've got a best ball podcast coming out, and it's going to be run by Brad Reyes. He currently works for TQE.
Love that guy.
Yeah, they do great work over there. Brad's an awesome guy, so that's going to be Best Ball Owners Manual, and that's going to be our third podcast of the Owners Manual crew, because we have Devi Owners Manual and Dwight Peebles and Andrew Hardball have been absolutely murdering it. So all love for the Owners Manual family, and I hope you all enjoy that. Thanks for having us on tonight.
Absolutely. The manuals, y'all are like, it's damn near like a Wikipedia.
It's a brand, man. It's the ownership brand.
What they call the encyclopedias? The what was the big brand, like the World
Britannica?
Book or the Britannica? Yeah. Okay. The Britannica of the fantasy football world. These fellas, they're running the show. Go check all those things out. I'm excited for the best ball thing. That's a great idea, because man, that Brad, he's dipped into some things with us, like just scratching the surface, and I'm like, man, what am I doing? And no, he's got some good knowledge, so I'm glad y'all scooped him up. Pete,
yes sir.
Teeter,
My
Totter,
official name, right? Yeah.
Hey,
Joe,
how are you?
Joe,
What would you
hey
like
guys,
to
what's
share
going
with us?
on? And what are we talking about tonight?
Welcome to the show, Peter.
Welcome to the show.
I'm gonna try and be quick, because JMic probably likes to see his family now and again. But yeah, I'd just like to thank you all for letting me come on. Sorry for interrupting, and I want to clear up that Adam isn't personally calling into question Antonio Brown's mental health. I think I made it sound like that for a second, and that's certainly not the truth. As far as I know. I mean, as far as I know. But no, me, I'm on Twitter, and I just try and help out however I can. If you got a question, come ask me, and I try and find the answer out for it. I write for DLF, Dynasty League Football. I've got a podcast as well, although not a brand like the owner's manual. It seems like the first time I came on, I was the only one without a podcast, and now I'm the only one without like a company. So I'm always behind. But yeah, I'm on the Dynasty Crossroads every week with Jake Anderson, where we try and break down one player at a time to try to come to some sort of consensus between the film and the metrics. And yeah, I help out with everyone else too, because yeah, I write for FF Statistics. I write for 2QBs when they ask me or let me, or can't run away fast enough that they have to let me. It's in clear. I'm going to be posting some graphics on DHH now as well. Everyone basically. So yeah, you can find me all those places. And again, thanks for letting me come on. I always enjoy my time here at the Open Bar, and it's great to get to talk to the Owner's Manual guys again, because they haven't let me talk to them since I was on the Owner's Manual. So that should tell you something about that episode.
You had 2 episodes.
They've been running from me ever since.
You had 2 whole episodes.
I know, I shouldn't be ungrateful. I'm just used to turning everything into some sort of negative comment about myself. Just give me this, Chris, okay?
Fine.
But no, I actually really do enjoy the Owner's Manual as well. Still a listener, despite having been banned from it since those 2 episodes. But definitely good.
You hear that, Adam? We got 1 listener.
Thank goodness.
We have 2, because me and Jake both listen to the show. So.
Y'all just,
I forgot to say,
spit back up what you do on the Crossroads.
Jake was on the Open Bar last week, and I do not think he did a good enough job thanking Gabe for a brand new theme song. We now have 2 theme songs that are both kick ass. We really loved it, and despite what Jake said, we really did understand it. We really did. No, Jake wasn't that bad last week, but we really appreciate. We now have, like I say, 2 awesome introduction songs, and our only difficult decision every week is 1, who to talk about, and 2, which one to play. So thanks for giving this more to tilt over, Gabe. We really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Well, I went in the first week. I wasn't sure if y'all were going to keep going with both or kind of choose between each week, but whichever fits. I don't know. I don't know how y'all should do that process, but ultimately shout out to Zach, because his is dope too. So
I think I'm gonna ask the guest,
be next door to him.
I'm gonna ask whoever I'm talking with, and they have to decide. Well, that would work if it wasn't Jake every week. Damn it.
Peter, just don't tell him about our chicken or crow conversation, okay?
I won't.
That's between you and I.
I got it.
And you 3 that are also here in this podcast with us.
I heard nothing.
Yeah. JMic. I know, bro. I'm so sorry. Look, can I just take a second to apologize to you, because you were trying to close down the show, and I totally went into this like fucking upside down of upside down. I knew that question was not going to go short-sighted. Yeah, that was not a short question to be answered, and I truly am sorry. So I'd like to publicly apologize to you for even bringing it up. I should have waited, but I needed it, and I hope you can forgive me tonight or in the future or in 2020, or while you're speaking my eulogy, because I feel like you're going to be the one to do it. At least I hope you do, because your voice is so good.
You are forgiven, and there's no reason to even ask for forgiveness. That's absurd. The conversation tonight, this goes down in the pantheon of open bar episodes. 2019 has been so good to us. We've had so many good, dope people on. We've had fantastic conversations. We've laughed a ton. We got Wildy to admit his love for lemonades and his hatred for Girl Scouts, period. So It was just a fun episode. But to everyone in the chat that kept the chat live and lit all the way up, golly, thank you guys. So incredibly grateful.
JMic, I love the chat. I just want to admit that. I love the chat.
Yes. And if you guys did not stay around for the post 2 hour mark, you did not hear that. So
serious? 2 hours?
Yes, bro.
Okay, now I'm really sorry. Okay, now I'm really sorry. Holy shit.
So to everyone in the chat, so incredibly grateful for you guys. It was fun. We had a great time. Aton's still here. He's laughing at the fact that you just now recognize we went 2 hours. What up, Aton? Aton's good.
It's way past. It's like we're like 2 hours past Adam's bedtime.
He was hoping to get in like 7 minutes.
Chris,
do his Charles Clay take and get out.
Yeah,
but he did take a nap earlier, so he was ready. He said he knew that there was a possibility that this would happen, and it did.
Yep. Somebody let Adam get off the call. Let him take his Metamucil and get to bed.
Yeah, go Adam, go Adam.
You're youngest by like 20 years, and it's also all true.
So Chris is not only teaching you how to Twitter, he's also setting your bedtimes, and like this is an interesting relationship. I must know more. I'm gonna have to go listen to more of the Dynasty Owner's Manual. Clearly the answer.
See, and then maybe come on as a guest, and we'll let you know more.
Yep.
Oh man, just ask anytime.
To everyone listening in podcast form, thank you guys. Whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean. All those wonderful things, including Spotify. Yes, you can find us on Spotify. Please give us a like, give us a review, share with your friends if you'd like for them to have a great time with us as well. Thank you guys so much for your time. Again, I'm on Twitter at JMicCheck, at JMICCheck. You can find Gabe, the better half of this duo, on Twitter at FFManbun, and you can find the show's handle at the Open Bar FP. That's at the Open Bar FP, as in Fake Pigskin. What up, Jared? What up, Kyle? What up, crew? Fake Pigskin. Gabe, now that it is Wednesday morning, take us home.
Y'all see that slight shade? You know,
just a little bit.
Try to slide it up in there.
He's putting on that 8 SPF.
Just to go back to what Adam said earlier, let's
run it back. Run it back.
Is there another wide receiver that we can talk about this? All right. My goodness. Seriously, thank y'all for hanging around. And I don't know what bag we just got into, but seriously, thank you for just hanging out with us. And I hope someone found some sort of value out of that last 45 minutes of the show, because that seriously just like it blinked by for me. But Mike and I, we have our Open Bar store. We share that link everywhere. In our podcast feed, on Twitter, on things, everywhere that you can find it. But theopenbar.storenvy.com. We've got a couple of shirts. Our big one, the Wubba Wubba Chub Chub. We throw that one out there quite a bit. We tried to flex our teeth a little bit last week when we got titillated, and you know what, JMic? I'm still waiting. I'm gonna call him out publicly. I think because JP said that he was going. I literally only made the shirt for JP. I literally only made the shirt for JP. JP,
get with it early. Mm-hmm. Get with it.
Word him up. So, we'll figure out a shirt that we want to do on this episode. It might just be a GIF of me rambling for like 45 minutes after the fact when we're trying to go to bed. I don't know how you put a GIF on a t-shirt, but we're gonna figure it out. And intros, I do those. I do it for two of these guys here. I do it for one of those guys there. I do it for the two guys hosting this podcast. Bars. Okay. I'd love to make one for your show. I'm working on them as we speak. I'm listening to beats in my headphone. I'm not even podcasting with y'all right now. I'm just listening to trying to figure out what I'm about to say next on the next line. But hit me up. I'd love to do that. And that's the only plug that I want to give for myself. And we will see you next week. We're going to have a show, right, JMic? We have guests. Yes. Is that true?
Already lined up.
Perfect. And he says, I'm the better half. What an idiot. Because you lined up the next show, JMic. Because you're
No, I will not co-sign that. Sorry.
All right, fine. Well, we have a show lined up next week. JMic knows that he set it up, and we thank him for it. We've got March sort of lined up with some people. We're looking forward to leading up to the draft and the combine things, and we're having fun. We might dip into our dynasty bags and get into some serious talks, but until then, we will see y'all next week with some people, 9:30 Eastern on a Tuesday, super sharp, never late. We're going to be there. I don't know if y'all have drinks anymore. I still have this. And if you want to just put your fist up and punch me in the face, that works too. Right up there at the camera. Perfect. Okay. And shoot, I guess we'll see y'all next week. Deuces.